It'll be Jason Changel out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
By United Dairy Farmers, I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way each and every day, Monday through Friday, that is, 10 a.m. to noon. That's Eastern Time. You can check us out on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We ask you to please subscribe to the program. Paul, you alive over there?
I am alive over here.
You sure?
I am. Very alive.
If you prefer to join us in podcast form, please do search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman. And you're dialed in. Before we go any further, fellas, I want to say good morning. Casey, you're still sporting the colors. A little surprise, Paul pointed out earlier, this being Steelers week. Those are Steelers colors you're sporting there. Very surprised.
Yeah, I won't lie. The thought did not cross my mind that it was Steelers
Obviously.
week. Because I'm just not that worried, I guess, about them. But I don't know. I was actually trying to wrap NKU a little bit longer.
Leader of men. Leader of men.
some
Darren
pub.
Horn, leader of men. I might go buy season tickets after that interview with him yesterday.
It's great. Get down to BB&T. Let's go.
It's a great arena.
It is.
Great arena. Rocking the other night. You were there.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about Xavier's game tonight. You'll be there tonight.
I will.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Well, last night, fellas, did you happen to watch the Thursday night football game last night?
I caught the fourth quarter.
I was watching a lot of it.
Okay. Well, the AFC South leading Tennessee Titans traveled to Green Bay to take on the Packers. And I have to tell you, like a lot of you, I've watched a lot of football. It was this close to being almost a perfectly played game by the visiting team in every way. Offense, defense, special teams. Ryan Tannehill. Anybody ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill hits 22 of 27 for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Titans' decimated secondary keeps Aaron Rodgers in check, and boy, did he miss some throws last night. He even admitted it after the game in the press conference. I listened to the whole thing sitting at the airport waiting to pick up our daughter. Tennessee wins 27-17, 7-3 on the year. Do you realize the Titans are the only team in the NFL over the last 3 seasons, not Buffalo, not Kansas City, pick any other team you want. They're the only team in the NFL the last 3 seasons to start the year at 7-3. Mike Vrabel, one of 7 coaches hired in 2018. He is the only one still employed as a head coach. A Buckeye. A Buckeye. Bengals and Steelers set to tee it up at 4:25 in the Steel City. That's on Sunday. Cincinnati in search of its first division win in this, its 4th attempt. As you know, they lost to the Steelers week 1, turned it over 5 times, 4 interceptions, a lost fumble, all by Joe Burrow. No Jamar Chase in this one, looking more and like DJ Reader is a go. Not a slam dunk yet. Kenny Pickett makes his first career start at quarterback against an AFC North opponent. Now, the spread opened at 5.5. It's now down to 4, Paul. The wise guys must know something.
Yeah, big money came in early on the Steelers at home, and game got flexed. It's still sitting around 4 o'clock. So, or it's well, it is sitting around 4 o'clock, but it's also sitting around 4 points. Yeah, it's over a field goal. Bengals. I don't know. I'm going to take the Bengals, though, but we get to that later.
We'll get to that later. We have our picks coming up. And by the way, James Rapine, who covers a team from Sports Illustrated, will join us here in about 10 minutes. Elsewhere in the division, Cleveland is headed to Buffalo. Oh, wait a minute. Check that. They're headed to Detroit. They were talking about anywhere from 3 to 7 feet of snow in the forecast in western New York, so the NFL said adios. We're not taking that chance. They have moved the game to Ford Field in Detroit. Buffalo, as you know, losers of 2 in a row, and they have looked very average in the process on both sides of the ball. Cleveland battered last week in Miami. The Bills, an 8.5-point favorite. Maybe that has changed. The Ravens are at home against Carolina. Baltimore, a 13-point favorite, of course, sitting atop the AFC North at 6-3. That's one better than your Cincinnati Bengals. Other games of interest around the NFL. The Jets have not beaten the New England Patriots since December of 2015. Imagine that. The Patriots have won 13 in a row over the Jets. And this is a game that could have huge playoff implications. The Jets are 6-3. The Pats right now on the final wild card spot in the AFC at 5-4. The game is in Foxborough. New England favored at home by 3.5. The Dallas Cowboys, second straight week on the road inside the NFC North. This week, a trip to not red hot, but ice hot Minnesota. Vikings are 8-1. Dallas lost in Green Bay last week. Now it's 6-3, and at 6-3, that's in third place in their division. I got to tell you, Cowboys are favored by 1.5. I don't get it. I'm not a gambler, but I mean, of all of the lines that I've seen in sports in a long time, Paul, maybe later you can explain that to me. I don't know how in the world Dallas is favored in Minnesota to win that game. College football. We're down to the final 2 weeks of the regular season, and in essence, the playoffs have already begun. Number 25, UC plays Temple at 4 o'clock. You can watch that on ESPNU. By the way, UC's opponent next week, they have to win that game at Tulane. Tulane hammered SMU last night, scoring a whopping 59 points in that game. Number 1, Georgia is at Kentucky. The Dogs favored by 22.5, 3:30 kick on CBS. Number 2, Ohio State, also at 3:30. On the road as well at Maryland. Buckeyes favored by 27.5. You can watch that one on ABC. Number 3, Michigan, at home against Illinois, favored by 18. The Illini started 7-1. They've lost their last 2. Number 4, TCU, undefeated in a huge rivalry game. Their big rival is Baylor. That's a noon kickoff on Fox. The Horned Frogs favored by 2.5. And number 5, Tennessee, on the road at South Carolina. The Gamecocks, they had won 5 out of 6. And then they go to Florida last week and give up like 400 rushing yards. That's a 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. Volunteers favored by 22.5. And out west, another big rivalry game. Number 7, USC, to Pasadena and the Rose Bowl to play 16th-ranked UCLA. An 8 o'clock kickoff, that one on Fox. The Trojans, a 2-point favorite. Baseball, Aaron Judge named the American League's most valuable player after clubbing an American League record 62 home runs this year. He got 28 out of 30 first-place votes. And on the National League side, Paul Goldschmidt of the Cardinals is the most valuable player. He edges out Manny Machado and teammate Nolan Arenado. College hoops, Kentucky a winner last night. And the big one tonight, Paulie. The big one tonight at the Cintas Center. Sold out. That'll be rocking. Number 12, Indiana comes to town to take on the undefeated Musketeers. Before we get to James Rapine, your thoughts, if any, on that one?
Yeah, a lot of this is going to depend on the health of Colby Jones. Sean Miller talked about yesterday in the pregame press conference that it sounded more favorable than not if you kind of read in between the lines that they were holding him out of practice to feel like, okay, we want him to be ready for the game. But if Xavier's without their best player, it's going to be a tall task. It's going to be a tough game anyway for Xavier against the Indiana team that I had Jeff Rabjohns on my podcast yesterday. It came out this morning, and he talked about how this Indiana team, in his opinion, could be the best Indiana team since 2013, which is the team that it was ranked number one for the vast majority of the season. So for him to be able to say that and see this talent on this team with Trace Jackson-Davis, who one of the best players in the country, is a very good team. This is a really good team. And I think the one point that a lot of people have made before about Indiana is Indiana fans sometimes have these lofty expectations. They went on that long drought the last few years without making the tournament, and Indiana doesn't live up to expectations. Well, sometimes those expectations are just too high, and you're still thinking the program might be what it is from a long time ago, that it just wasn't. Archie Miller just didn't have the success that he was hoping to have. Now it's Mike Woodson coaching the Hoosiers. So I think tonight it's a big measuring stick game for both teams because Indiana has really struggled on the road over the last few years. They really struggle in non-conference road games. And with Sean Miller back, this is Xavier's first test with Sean Miller back. So it's gonna be rocking.
Well, I hope the Jones kid can play because you want to see everybody at full strength. I mean, we lose sight of the fact you have these big games, these out-of-conference games and intersectional games and so on and so forth. And it's still only November. Long way to go. See how everything plays out. Apparently, a lot of the guys in the chat already waiting for me, Sir Boy Wonder, waiting for me to light up Casey about Ryan Tannehill. I'm not going to do it. One thing I did hear last night, we're going to get into this a little bit later on. I know James Rapine is coming up any minute now. But I heard last night sitting at the airport waiting for our daughter's bag to come in. I was sitting out in the cell phone lot, whatever you do over there.
Yeah.
And had the radio on, and I wish I could remember the guy's name because I really like this guy. He's a talk show on ESPN Radio. He's been around for a long time. He was on after the game last night, and they broadcast the game on radio. This year in the NFL through 10 weeks, teams have rushed for over 36,000 yards. Okay?
Yep.
That is the highest total through 10 weeks in an NFL season since 1983. And it was very interesting. Long-time offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers was on the air. Mark Tauscher. He's in their Ring of Honor. And he had said, like many things in life, cyclical, that kind of thing, but talked about how, and he pinpointed Dwight Freeney, great pass rusher, Hall of Famer, will be, with the Indianapolis Colts, and how teams on defense with offenses starting to throw the ball a lot, having to cover more athletes out on the field, the defenses started to get leaner and leaner and leaner. You don't have the big bruising linebackers. You're playing 5 guys in the secondary frequently. Your linebackers are asked to cover tight ends and be more athletic than maybe they once were in years past. And so defenses, in his estimation, have gotten smaller. And so there are some teams that are saying, okay, well, if that's what teams want to do, they want to be lean, more athletic, then the teams who make the decision, we are going to pound and pound and pound. Now, last night, for example, the Titans. Travis Henry didn't have a big game. He carried the ball 28 times for 89 yards. But the point was made that even though he was only averaging 3 yards a carry, a little bit more than 3 a carry, that the Ravens are the kind of team, and there are others in the NFL, they're okay with that. They're okay with that. They would put themselves, and Tannehill talked about this after the game, they'd run it, they'd get down to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1. Their play action was incredible. Packers having to load up the box. And Tannehill was just so accurate. That's the best I've ever seen Tannehill. I mean, I know I talked him up yesterday, but I mean, he made some unbelievable throws last night. But the point being in this thing is, sometimes the point was made that you can't get wrapped up in your yards per carry, and that the Titans are one of those teams that don't. They're going to wear you down. They ran it 30-plus times last night. They threw it 27 times last night. Conversely, Aaron Rodgers, who has been saying for weeks, we need to run, 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 run. I don't know if that's a shot at Matt LaFleur. I have no idea. But last night, the Packers run it 18 times. And this wasn't some blowout game. I mean, the Titans were in control of the game, but it wasn't a blowout game. I mean, Green Bay was right there. A stop on a third down, convert on a third down, make a play down the field, and they have a chance to win that game. But they run it 18 times and they throw it almost 40. When Green Bay beat Dallas last week, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 20 times in the game. So, maybe we're guilty around here, I am sometimes, of looking at, Mixon. He's averaging 2.9 a carry, 3.3 a carry, whatever it might be, and then the Bengals just abandon the run game and they start slinging it all over the place. Well, if you buy into that theory, and clearly teams are because they're running more and running more effectively, more frequently than they have in 30 years, 40 years, right? My math, right? Yeah, 40 years, 1983. That's 40 seasons ago.
Yeah.
I don't do math in public, and you just found out why. I thought it was a very interesting philosophy.
Yeah.
Is James here yet?
Yes, he is.
He is. Okay, let's get right to James Rapine because he's got a hard out today. James, thank you on short notice for taking the time to join us today. The mood around the Cincinnati Bengals. They'll jump on the plane tomorrow and head to the Steel City. We know the Steelers have been a nightmare, 35-12 against Cincinnati going back to 2000. Not that that matters now with different coaches, different players, et cetera, although the Steelers beat them in week 1 this year. What's the mood around there?
Well, I certainly think they're confident, but they know how important this week is and getting off to a good start, getting your first division win, but getting off to a good start in this stretch that is as tough as you could ask for of an 8-game stretch. I mean, this might be their easiest game over the next 8 weeks on the road at Pittsburgh. That's never easy. And I don't mean to phrase it that way, but it's that game or maybe visiting Bill Belichick on Christmas Eve, which doesn't sound like fun to me. Probably the last place I'd want to be is Gillette Stadium on December 24th. But that's the reality the Bengals are facing right now. And at 5-4 and a bunch of teams with 3 losses or 4 losses in the AFC, it's a must win. I think that's fair to say. But they're confident. I don't think they're cocky. I also think they know what's at stake and how important Sunday is.
All right, health-wise, walk us through where they are. I know Hilton had said right from the beginning, no matter what, he was going to be on the field, so he'll be back. That helps, certainly. DJ Reader, any update there?
Oh, Reader's going to play. And
Okay.
the Bengals have pretty much said that, but he's looked good in practice. He's been a full participant, I would say, from what we've seen, but he's not technically on the roster, so you don't have to give him a practice designation. But, yeah, he's practiced back-to-back days. He's going to practice today, and it's a huge get to get him. And then, obviously, they're not going to have Jamar Chase. They're not going to have Josh Tupou. So they're down a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle still, even though Reader's coming back. And then, obviously, Chase, we know how valuable he is. So that might go along with your running the ball philosophy without having Chase this week.
Well, didn't you? I mean, I don't know if you heard that stat last night, James, but again, I was just sitting in the parking lot listening, and I was, I don't get wrapped up in a lot of stats, but I found that when you're talking about, through 10 weeks of a season, more rushing yards this year than there's been since 1983.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Bengals, there are going to be some games where they have to run the ball and run the ball more than they're used to, more than we're used to seeing. I also don't think they can win regularly like the Titans do. It's just that's not them. And to be honest, you look at the Bengals receivers, even without Jamar Chase, if T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd were on that field last night, they'd be the two best receivers on that field between both teams. So that's part of it. That said, can the Bengals be balanced? Because they're a pass-first team. They have Joe Burrow. But can they be balanced, especially without Chase? I do think that part is crucial for their success. They might not have to run it 40 times, but can they be efficient and run it more than we've seen recently? And up until, of course, the Panthers game when they were able to get things going and average 7 yards a carry.
You're down there every day at practice. What's an update on where the team thinks Chase is at this point?
They've been really tight to the vest. Zach Taylor hasn't given us any tips, tricks, or hints. Now, you can ask others, off the record, and it does. One, I think he's progressing. People tweeted this week that he was on crutches. And while that is factually true, I think he's on crutches, doesn't need crutches. I think there's a big difference there. I think he could take those crutches and throw them away today and show up and walk around the stadium and jog and do a lot of those things. They're waiting on the bone to heal. And so if you can take pressure off of that hip and let that bone heal, that's exactly what you want. And so he's not going to play Sunday. I still think there's at least a chance he plays against the Titans. But to me, this feels like early December. But you can't rush him back. And that's why you got to handle business against a team like Pittsburgh, a team you should beat, even though it's a tough division rival. So you don't feel the need, not that they would rush him back, but so you don't even feel the need to do that. And if this team wins the next two on the road, which is going to be really hard, and certainly not have Chase for one of them for sure, I think it would go a long way towards that. But yeah, I think he's going to be back this season. It's just a matter of when that bone heals and when he can go out there and get some practice time under him.
What have you seen or what have you heard from some of the inside folks with the Bengals on how they view Kenny Pickett? I mentioned a little while ago, he's 2-3 officially as a starter, although one of those wins should not count as a win. That was a game he was concussed, and Trubisky led him to the victory and so on and so forth. But even though his numbers aren't very good, the Steelers have managed, thanks in large part to they play pretty good defense, is they've played close games. What do people see so far around the Bengals with Pickett?
I think they certainly believe he's talented, but also young quarterback that you can take advantage of and force into some mistakes. And that's got to be their mindset going in. Now, a couple of things. One, you don't want the Steelers' rushing attack to get going. It showed some signs of life against the Saints. I think that's the first thing outside of turnovers. Make sure Kenny Pickett is still dropping back and having to throw it against the secondary that even without Chidobe Awuzie, they have confidence in that can go toe-to-toe with these Steelers skill players. So that would be the first thing. But yeah, he's certainly made his mistakes and he's at home. So getting off to a quick start, game script, I think matters a lot. Put him in a position to try to make a comeback, try to force the ball a little bit. He's certainly willing to do that. And if you do that, then take advantage of it with a Jesse Bates or a Von Bell or, maybe rookie-on-rookie crime with Cam Taylor-Britt. So they certainly have options to get after Pickett. And part of it, too, can you get pressure with 4 and not blitz him? If not, will Lou Anarumo be able to confuse Pickett? He doesn't blitz a lot, but confuse Pickett a few times and take advantage of the rookie. I think that's possible and it's realistic. But they got to do it because this Steelers offense isn't good. They've struggled for most of the year. They're not explosive, and so get off to a quick start and then don't let up.
When you look, and you and I have talked about this before, I think we all agree that Sam Hubbard is playing the best football of his very young NFL career. Hendrickson, Pro Bowl guy, at it again this year. Do you feel like, and Carter has certainly not been anything to speak of so far in regard to putting pressure on the quarterback. And I've asked you this before, but as we move forward, and I know Reeder, certainly would give them some push up the middle, and Hill has really been a nice addition to this team the last couple of years. But now you're 10 weeks in. Do you see any of those, anybody else on this roster giving opposing quarterbacks pressure besides just by and large Hendrickson and a little bit of Hubbard?
Yeah, they need someone to emerge, whether that's Joseph Osai, whether that's Zach Carter, who's played a ton of snaps, and you now can maybe dial back into more of a role with DJ Reader back in the fold. Adding Reader is going to help. He's not known for that, but he's certainly capable, and that's kind of the cherry on top with him. As dominant as he is against the run, he can certainly get after the quarterback. But you're right, they've struggled to get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And now with Cheeto out, that matters more than ever. So that's the interesting dynamic here. Can they get pressure with 4, starting with I would say below average Steelers pass blocking offensive line? Can they do that? If not, then it's going to be up to Lou Anarumo to find a way. Because the last thing you want is the game to be close, Kenny Pickett to have some confidence, he's taking care of the ball, and you just give him all day to throw. You can't have that. So shutting down the run and finding ways to put pressure on Pickett to force him into mistakes, I think that's key 1 and 2 for this defense, and we'll see if they can get it done. But yeah, it is a concern. At the same time, maybe Hendrickson, Hubbard, and Reader, can get that done.
Yep.
Maybe Reader coming back opens things up for B.J. Hill, who showed he could get after the quarterback a lot last season. I think Hill was forced into a role that you didn't necessarily want without Reader, and now he can slide back into the role where he shined last year, and the Bengals certainly hope he can do the same over the final 8 weeks of the regular season.
I don't know if I expect you, or whether it's fair to expect you, James, to answer this question, but I made the comment on the air yesterday. Look, because of digging yourself into a 0-2 hole in a couple of games that I think everybody, even if you're a Cowboy fan, even if you're a Steeler fan, would have to admit the Bengals should have, but that's, those are tired words together, should have won those games. So now you're in the position that you are in. So every game you play is a big game. But I maintain that looking at what they're going to face after this game, especially after watching Tennessee last night, I maintain that what you're going to face, if there is such a thing in the 10th week of the season, is a must-win. Would you agree that this is a must-win?
100%, because the Bengals' first goal of the season was to win the AFC North. Spoiler, you're not winning the AFC North if you start 0-4 in the division. Yeah. And it's going to be tough even if you get that win. But you got to keep pace with the Ravens. You still have a head-to-head matchup with them. Everyone keeps looking at the schedule, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cincinnati, Baltimore. No one knows what's going to happen. What you do know is you play the Steelers on Sunday. So handle business there for division chances. And then wild card as well. A lot of teams, whether it's the Patriots who hold the tiebreaker right now, 5-4. There are a lot of teams that are 6-3, 5-4 in that race. You got to start to separate yourselves from that 500 mark. And then the other part of this, if the Steelers do win, suddenly they're on your heels in the playoff picture. And that's the last thing you want, because they would hold the tiebreaker over you with 2 victories. So there are a lot of reasons why. And they have some winnable games coming up too. When you look at their second half schedule, there are a lot of reasons why they need to get this game. The first one is obviously the division, but you're looking at that schedule. If the Bengals are going to make a second half run, this is a game they should win, because this might be the easiest game remaining, at least on paper.
All right. Before I let you go, we've seen in the past some of the things back behind you there. We've not seen the Dr. Seuss book.
Oh, yeah. You like that?
I do. Very, very much. Now, why did that make an appearance now?
It was on the bookshelf, decided to switch it and put it on the backdrop. I like to rotate things a little bit, keep you on your toes.
Yeah, but Dr. Seuss? I mean, there are a lot of things I would expect maybe from James Rapine. I don't know you personally.
You want me to read it? I could read it real quick.
Believe me. You would actually, that would be perfect for the people that watch and listen to this show regularly, because among that group and the ham and eggers over here, and Casey and Paul, myself I would include, I think our intelligence level is very, very close to Dr. Seuss.
Well, I was going to say,
I just go ahead.
That the places that we'll go, that is That is just actually a sign of where the Bengals will go. He has them on the shelf. The places we'll go. We'll be going to victory.
Oh.
There you go, James.
Wow.
There we go,
Boy,
James.
there's a stretch.
Wow, second half foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I won't
Places
deny
we'll
it.
go.
Yeah, well, Casey has you've been with us a lot, and we got to let you go. But, James, thank you so much for your time, and safe travels to Pittsburgh, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Again, really appreciate your time very much.
Of course. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Appreciate you having me.
All right, James Rapine covers the Bengals each and every day. Nobody better than that guy covering the Bengals. You want to know what's going on? You know what's going on. You had something to add to that, Casey? No. You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I just I thought it was actually a great addition to his shelving, his backdrop.
All right, let me ask you one question,
Yeah.
okay? Because, still to come, we've got a lot of time here to talk about lots of things going on, pro, college. We've got our picks at 11:30. No other guests lined up today because we have lots to talk about. But I'm going to give you a second to think about this, and we're going to go to break, okay? Mm-hmm. If you had to pick one book to all of a sudden show up on the shelf behind you, okay, which he chose Dr. Seuss this week. If you, Casey, if you, Paul, if you at home, and here on the chat, we've got thousands, if not tens of thousands. What book would you put up there? Okay?
We'll think about it.
All right? And again, I mean, this could be your own personal set of beliefs. I mean, maybe you like the Bible back there. Okay? Maybe it's a book you just finished that you really want to kind of subliminally let people know that, this is a good read. Like my dad, he's been touting. I mean, I've read just about every Stephen King book, and my dad has too. I've not read the newest Stephen King book, so he was talking about this on our show a couple weeks ago. So if he had something behind him, maybe that's something he would have put up. Maybe it's something from a philosophical standpoint in your life, okay? Like The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. Have either one of you guys ever heard of that book?
Tom, I really appreciate the fact that you're giving at least me enough credit to say that I read books. I sincerely appreciate that.
Well, you read newspapers, and
That's not
Are
a
you
book.
not a book reader?
I read so much. I read the news so much. I don't read a ton of books.
Okay.
I will have a pick. I am thinking of a book.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a
Casey,
pick
are
too.
you a book reader?
I'm not really a book reader either, but I will have a pick.
Okay.
I have one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
We're waiting for some of you to chime in. AJ says maybe Little Women. Where the Red Fern Grows. Okay. I want to hear what some of you would choose.
All right.
Okay? So we're going to we'll talk about that, and then we're going to start getting into some of the games this weekend, talk about the Bengals a little bit, talk about UC a little bit, talk about the Musketeers game tonight a little bit. College football, huge, huge weekend. They're all huge at this point in time. We're back in a moment.
This group's pretty darn tight, especially the senior group. You have to be smart to play the game of football. I mean, there's so much put into it. They have put this team and this program before themselves.
This year, we walk in and there's just a different level of expectation. Every week, you have to come and be ready to go. I think that every guy in that locker room would feel that way.
Storm the field, Moeller does. They win at 21-17, and Moeller is on to the state semifinals.
Get to the Moeller game and probably lost a game we probably shouldn't have lost, to be honest with you. And we're making memories that these guys are going to remember 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
And so the kids know that they have to come in focused and ready to go, and we have to put together a great week of preparation to have the best opportunity to win a game. And sometimes you're like, this is what we do. you know.
That one felt pretty good, didn't it?
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We have lots of folks. This one I love. My man Reed Mouse agrees with me. Anne Rand, the Fountainhead, phenomenal. And that and Atlas Shrugged. Boom Shakalaka says the world would end if I ever finished a book. AJ says I haven't read a book since Dr. Seuss. Sir Boy Wonder, it's a big-time book. Mike Lupica, great writer.
I remember reading his
Great
books.
writer. The Bat Boy. AJ adds Cliff Notes. Was an excellent resource to get me through. What else? Oh, my God. Okay, William says Stuart Woods. His Stone Barrington novels. Very, very good. Trace Fowler, Who Moved My Cheese? All right. Have you guys thought about this? What would it be?
Actually, I have a list of books. I don't know if I could pick one.
A list?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
You've had enough time in the commercial break to come up with a list?
Yeah, because they're books that I actually loved reading when I did read them, and I don't feel like I have like a favorite book.
Okay.
So I'm going to give somewhat of a list.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with the sports book, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, great. And they turned it into a great movie. Yeah. I interviewed, in fact, the guy who wrote that book.
Did you?
Yeah, many years ago when I was working in Chicago, when that book first came out. I mean, it's a long time. It goes back to like 1990, 91, 92, something like that. Yes, he came in the studio at WGN, had a chance to interview him. He had gone down there to Odessa, Texas, Permian High School, Odessa Permian High School. Great book. Good choice, Casey.
Yeah, so that would be up there if I was doing like a sports show.
Okay.
Now, just in my normal office, I would love to have like Fahrenheit 451. That's one of my favorite all-time books.
Yep.
The other couple ones I love, like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep. Classic.
Great Gatsby. And there's one I can't think of. It was turned into a movie. It was a futuristic, dystopian type of story where
Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
No, it's where the guy, everyone
you
can't
guys
see
didn't
colors.
catch that. Neither one of you clowns catch that. You're not listening.
No.
That was a joke.
I didn't.
It
What
was
did
a
you
good joke. Go ahead.
It's where they
Never heard of it.
none of the people can see colors and they start The Giver. That's what it's
Never
called.
heard of that.
Oh,
The
that's
Giver's
a
a
great
great
book.
Really? I never heard of that. Okay, I'll have to check it
Giver.
out.
The Giver's a great book. I love that book.
That is a great book.
That's one of my all-time. That might be the one I'd put up there first.
Okay.
Tom.
Paul?
We had an all-time Chatterbox moment during the commercial break. An all-time Chatterbox moment. I look over to my left, and I look at Casey on the screen. He has Googled great books.
Hang on. Those are all books I've read. I just need a little help
This is the
remembering
stuff that
and
comes
thinking
to
of.
light. That comes to light. You
He did
gotta
the
be
same
kidding. Have you
thing.
ever read The Great Gatsby?
Yes, I have.
Tell the truth.
I have read The Great Gatsby, and he's over here doing the same thing.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Is that what's on my screen?
All right, look.
I have one,
you
actually.
You guys are no different, though, than I will tell you this. You guys, I mean, when you're young and, you're on the go and you're trying to build your career and all those kinds of things, but I can't tell you how much how much enjoyment you can gain from reading books when you do have the time, because it really is. It's a wonderful habit's not the right word. It's just, it makes life better reading good books, and I don't care what books you read, but it does make life better. Yours is you got some list in front of you?
No, I don't. But the last book that I did read was the book by John Feinstein called Where Nobody Knows Your Name. Mm-hmm. It's the book about the life in the minor leagues.
Yeah,
great book. As somebody that worked one season last year in the minor leagues and saw just a little glimpse of that, I thought it was really interesting because he got the perspective of every different area of the players, the managers, coaches, trainer, umpires, everybody. It's a good look at the grind it takes to get to the major leagues.
Well, John Feinstein is a really good guy. I've known him a long time. And matter of fact, we got to try to get him on the show sometime. I don't know what's happened to him. He's kind of fallen off. He was one of the most well-known columnists and writers, multiple best-selling, New York Times best-selling books. Perhaps his most favorite of all time, famous of all time, was the Bobby Knight, when he traveled with Indiana basketball, A Season on the Brink. Have you ever read that one?
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
Now, I'm going to tell you, you want to talk about a big-time sports book, that book is as good as it gets. He traveled, got permission from Coach Knight to travel the entire season, and this was during the heyday of Indiana basketball, driving back on buses after games, the teams that Knight just despised because he thought they were cheating. Losing to some of those teams, the stuff that went on in practice, the way he would talk to players, it is an unbelievable book. A Season on the Brink by John Feinstein.
Did you know him?
Yes, I do know him, yes.
No, Bobby Knight.
Yes,
Okay.
Quite well, yes.
Okay.
I used to room with his son, Tim Knight, one of his two sons. His other son, Pat, was a college basketball coach. Tim ran all of his sort of merchandise and all that kind of thing, and Tim's still a very successful guy, and used to room with him when I went to Indiana's basketball camp, and got to know Tim real well. Coach Knight, last time I saw Coach Knight, it was very sad. Whether you like Bobby Knight or not, he is an incredible man, incredibly smart. Everybody knows great basketball coach and all that kind of stuff, but really smart. And the last time I saw him, he had come to Red Spring Training 2 years ago, and he was not in a good place mentally. One of my favorite stories I ever had, I'll tell you a quick Bobby Knight story. So the year he leaves Indiana before he's hired by Texas Tech, there was a big Indiana booster who had a home out in Arizona. I was living in Arizona at the time. And back in those days, I don't play golf anymore, but used to play golf back in those days. And so it was Christmas Eve day. Bobby's in town. I talked to him a couple times and said, hey, let's go out and play golf one day. He's like, absolutely. Sounds good. So we decided we're going to go play on Christmas Eve morning in Arizona. So I've got one friend of mine who I tell him this is going to happen, but then I have another friend of mine who is a huge Bobby Knight, Indiana basketball fan, whole 9 yards, good friend of mine, a guy named Mike Walsh. And so I said to Mike, hey, let's go play golf Christmas Eve morning. Says, great. So we get out. We're on the driving range. It's Mike Walsh, another friend of mine, Scott Snyder, and me. And all of a sudden we're standing there, and my buddy's kind of looking off, and he stops hitting balls, and he's like, man. He says, is that Bobby Knight over there? And we kind of turn around and, not tipping him off, of course. And I'm like, there's no way Bobby Knight's over here. No chance. Well, here comes the general. Comes walking right up. Says, all right, boys, who's my partner today? It ain't Brennaman. Who's my guy? And my friend looks at me in a complete state of shock. I said, Coach, this is your partner, Mike Walsh. And I thought the guy was going to literally have to change his pants. It was a great moment. One of those moments in life you never forget, and you're grateful for it. What are some of the other?
How did Mike play?
Mike's a good player.
Okay.
And Bobby, it was funny. You get to be a certain age in golf, and I don't play anymore. But you get to be a certain age in golf, and guys who get a little bit older, instead of hitting, 7 irons or 9 irons, they start hitting these 7 woods and 9 woods. So we were getting up on like 16 or 17, tight match, and Bobby pulls out some, 8 wood or 9 wood or something, and I make some comment. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. A 9 wood? Who in the world hits a 9 wood? Well, he steps up there and whacks it like 4 feet. And you can only imagine the language that was sprayed around that golf course about you can take that 9 wood and blankety, blankety, blank. But it was fun. The general. Leif Erickson says, I only read comic books.
Thor comic books, to be exact.
Oh, thank you. Brave New World. That's a good one. Really good one. Boy, Casey, they're killing you for looking up a list.
That was my fault. I put Casey out on an island. I shouldn't. I killed Casey there.
And I didn't even use I didn't even use most of the books that were on the list.
You didn't agree with Google's great books list.
I did not. I put Friday Night Lights is definitely not top 10 books of all time, and neither is The Giver or Fahrenheit 451, which, by the way, Sir Boy, it's about books that are banned, and there's a guy Montag that burns books, and he realizes he shouldn't be burning books.
Get him, Casey.
So he's like, I couldn't tell you exactly. It's been like 5 years since I've read the book, probably longer than that. But it's a good book. I like it.
Okay.
He realizes he shouldn't be burning books. It's dystopian. Anyways.
I should have been a better teammate there, Casey. Should have been a better teammate.
You did the exact same thing.
I did. Did I? I may have used the Google tool.
And I love I Spy.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you have to go to list on your computer
for books,
Casey. Boy. Maybe you should have pulled up the autobiography of Ryan Tannehill over there.
Oh, God.
You want to do this now? Let's just do this now.
Look, the Bengals have a like James just said, everyone knows that, they've got a game to focus on this week. Okay, this is a game they have to win over the Steelers, and we can talk about that game in a minute. But we said on this program 3 weeks ago, when they went on this little run against these crummy teams they're playing, the Panthers and the Falcons, and they had the debacle against Cleveland or whatever, but we made the comment on this program a couple of weeks ago. For me, still, the game then, the game now, which will determine the fate of the Bengals season if they win this week. They lose this week, I said it already, they're done. D-U-N, done. Stick a fork in them. They're not going to go to the playoffs. It's next weekend. That's a good-looking team. That is a good-looking team.
Yeah. So, first off, if we're going to talk about the Titans at all, that game that Ryan Tannehill played was probably his best game he's ever played.
I would agree. I would not even have expected him to play that well. And I have told you that I think he is a good, solid quarterback.
Yeah. And I also want to say, if he plays like that the rest of the season, I will eat my words. But he had a lot of help from the team around him. And I get it. Teams are good. Like, you can't judge a quarterback based off of just how good the team around him is. That's unfair because good teams are good teams. That's why they're good. It's not all about the quarterback. But man, I mean, Packers said, we are not going to let you beat us by running the football. And they died by that. And I respect that. So kudos to Ryan Tannehill. Kudos to the Titans for figuring out a game plan. The reason why I don't think that's going to work, though, against the Bengals, and we saw it in the playoffs, if DJ Reader is back, like back, healthy, they're not going to be able to run the football against us. And we're going to be able to play that too high shell, and Jesse Bates and Von Bell are going to be able to just have a field day. They're not going to let Ryan Tannehill throw the football like that. And I don't know. I am nervous about the game now just because I hope that didn't just start the Titans' streak of really good play. They play really well in November, December. That's what happened last year, and that's been kind of their forte in the last couple of years. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the only team I mentioned in the monologue. They're the only team in the NFL, the only team that has started now 3 consecutive seasons, the last 3 years, 7-3 on the year. Now, they play in a crummy division, so they get some breaks in that regard. I mean, the Colts have been down. Jacksonville's terrible. And who am I forgetting in that division?
Texans?
Yeah, I mean, come on. So, I mean, you've got, if not 6 layups, you've got 5 layups. You might stub your toe somewhere along the line of those 6 games inside your division, but it's not like playing, start looking around. It's not like playing in a lot of other divisions, including the Bengals division, where you're playing the Ravens, the Browns, Steelers 2 times a year.
Agreed. Yeah, I think when you look at these 2 divisions and you look at the Titans, I will give Ryan Tannehill credit for what he did last night against a Packers team that Aaron Rodgers looked terrible. Aaron Rodgers looked really, really bad last night in the fourth quarter. I watched the second half. I watched almost all the fourth quarter. I watched a little bit in the third quarter. The Packers had chances last night. They kept hanging around here and there, but boy, oh boy.
They got away from the game plan that won them the game against Dallas. They were able to run the football against Dallas, and they weren't able to run the football against the Titans, or they just gave up on it too quickly.
Well, I mean, also Aaron Rodgers just overthrowing guys.
Well, yeah, he missed a lot of receivers last night.
Wide open.
Yeah, wide open. And I'm not ready there's no way I'm going to be the guy that sits around here and starts saying that Rodgers is done, because I don't believe that. But I am starting to think that his run in Green Bay is coming to an end. They're 4-7 now. I heard his press conference after last night. Whether you like Rodgers, don't like Rodgers, the whole vaccine thing and all that. I mean, people get all worked up. But clearly there is friction there in terms of play calling with his head coach, who is a play caller, Matt LaFleur. There is clearly, even though he was given the big contract, there is clearly friction with Rodgers and the personnel decisions that are being made by ownership or the GM or both about guys they let leave. Case in point, Devontae Adams, among others through the years. I mean, back when James Jones was a really good player for them. He wasn't their A receiver, but he was like a Tyler Boyd for them. and they let him walk out the door. Jordy Nelson, they let him walk out the door. Randall Cobb, they let leave, then they bring him back. So, there's a lot going on there, and I think this is going to be one of the most interesting stories to watch in the NFL that doesn't necessarily pertain to a playoff team, because the Packers aren't going to the playoffs. They're not. They're 4-7. You look at their schedule. I mean, next week they're playing Philadelphia on the road. So they've got games like that the rest of the way, playing a first-place schedule. And so they're not going to the playoffs. But what ultimately happens in Green Bay? Does Rodgers stay, or do they let him go? Do they start Jordan Love a couple of games this year? There have been very prolific NFL writers that have speculated and predicted that if the Packers reach the point where they are right now, that you might see Love get a start or two before this season is over. And you heard Brian Billick when we asked him about that last week. He said, if you do that, you're done with Rodgers forever.
So then what does Rodgers do? Does he go to another team, or does he retire?
No, he'll go to another team.
Well, I just want to bring up his contract, which is this was signed March 14th of 2022.
Yep.
He signed a 3-year, $150 million extension with a staggering $101 million of it guaranteed. That's going to be really hard to get rid of him, per se. Like, trading him might be out of the question for some of these teams. I mean, unless he goes to a team with a ton of cap space, which isn't usually a really good team at the time. Those are usually teams that are rebuilding. I mean, I think they're stuck with Rodgers for the time being. And I don't know what you do. I don't know how the guaranteed money is structured. I don't know if it was all guaranteed for this year or if it's like spread out to compensate.
Well, I have no doubt, without looking at it, I have no doubt that a huge chunk of that, precisely for cap reasons, was guaranteed in a signing bonus.
Right. And I don't know if, because the way contracts work, the 3 years might actually be like 5 years because
Right.
that. So I don't know like how much of that money they're willing to just say, all right, let's move on from Rodgers, let's trade him, or they're definitely not cutting him. Let's get that out of the way.
Well, you're going to have to, like you talk about, and you make a great point, you're going to have to, if it comes to that, the Packers are going to have to pay some of that salary.
Right.
In some form or fashion. And look, I mean, if he's getting paid, what, $40 million, $50 million a year, whatever it is?
Yeah, $50 million.
Okay, whatever it is. If you're getting 50, Packers might have to pay 25. That's 25 less than you were going to pay him.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think everybody understands that if it comes to that, and we're not suggesting it's going to come to that, although I think it's going to come to that. I think Rodgers is playing somewhere else next year. Sir Boy Wonder asked me a minute ago, who would that be? I have no idea, because like you just said, I don't know whose cap space is out there. I know one thing, knowing Rodgers and the kind of guy he is and his personality, he has played with a chip on his shoulder his entire career about being overlooked in that draft. When he was waiting, thought the 49ers, a team he grew up rooting for, was going to draft him. They didn't. They took Alex Smith. Boy, there's one for the ages. And Smith was a good quarterback, ain't Aaron Rodgers. And, he's always played with his chip on his shoulder, and I can promise you, if he believes he still has plenty left in the tank, and I think he does, he is going to want to prove to everybody and his brother that he can still play and still win somewhere else besides Green Bay. He's got a lot of Tom Brady in him.
So I just did a little quick search. I'm not sure how accurate this is. This is on Sports Track. The NFL cap space for 2023. The top 5 teams are the Chicago Bears with $115 million cap space. That's the highest. And
he's already said he's not going there.
Okay. Then there's Atlanta Falcons with $70 million. New England with $53 million. The the Giants with 53, and Seattle with 46. So unless he wants to go to Bill Belichick, which would be kind of interesting. They're kind of in a quarterback issue right now.
Yep.
Or like the Giants.
Well, Seattle would be if just looking at those teams from the most intriguing would be, as you point out, Belichick, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But when you consider that Rodgers is from the West Coast, from Northern California, Geno Smith, this has been an unbelievable ride, but he, if you can have Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith, who you take?
Yeah, right. I'm probably taking Aaron Rodgers.
It's not
not even.
Especially with
Rodgers.
With DK Metcalf, is Tyler Lockett too? Man, that'd be deadly. But yeah, I mean,
who just out of curiosity, who are like 6, 7, 8, 9 on that list?
Yeah, so Bengals are at 6, which is good news for us. I didn't know that. Houston, 7, Baltimore at 8, the Raiders at 9.
Houston.
That would be another interesting one.
He's not going to Houston. They'll get their brains beat in down there.
It'd be interesting to see him in the Raiders, just to get back with Devontae and see if the magic's still there. Other than that, I mean, there's the Colts. Colts don't have a lot of money, though. It's $25 million. And at that point, you're starting to get to the point where you're not going to have any more acquisitions after that. So either it's, to me, the only teams that make sense for Rodgers is Seattle, Raiders, Patriots, and maybe the Falcons. And that's a push on the Falcons because I don't think he's gonna want to. I don't think he's want to go to a team like that. No. I mean, they've got some guys like Kyle Pitts and the Drake London, but I think they've definitely transitioned into a run-heavy first team. So, what do you think, Paul? What
Rodgers going to Las Vegas would fit right in. Yeah. Just the culture, the black and silver, the Raiders, Devontae Adams. I'm not saying he's doing it, but man, culturally it would fit in.
Was it Plunkett? Who was Plunkett? Wasn't he a gunslinger type?
Yep. He had kind of gotten near the end, and everybody kind of said, he's done up there in New England. Him and Randy Vataha and all them had it going on, and then they bring him there. John Madden, the head coach. Of course, they had great players all over. I mean, golly day, those were some unbelievable Raiders teams. That's when it was fun to watch the Raiders. That whole thing is such a mess now. It's unbelievable.
I don't understand what's going on with them.
Well, the owner comes out and backs Josh McDaniels.
Wow.
And Devontae Adams and Derek Carr both came out praising the owner for backing McDaniels.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, McDaniels, he went out there with, hell, that guy won a playoff game with Tim Tebow at quarterback at Denver. He gets run and goes back to New England, passes up Lord knows how many chances to be a head coach, thought the Raider thing was a good fit, looked like it would be a good fit. Maybe it still will be a good fit. I'm not going to say it won't be for the long haul, but we're about to find out.
Are we ready to move on to Steelers?
All right, we're ready to move on to Steelers. Let's take a break. We're going to move on to the Steelers. We're going to talk about that game a little bit. We'll talk about some of the college football coming up this weekend. We have confirmed that this, if, and it's always if, I've been around the block enough to know, just like you guys, you can't count on anything, okay? Michigan and Ohio State both have games to play this weekend. Michigan's playing Illinois. That's in Ann Arbor. Ohio State's going on the road to Maryland. Maryland's not a bad team. But both big favorites. A week from Saturday, Ohio State v. Michigan in Columbus. Numbers 2 and 3 in the country going toe-to-toe. And who knows? I said to my son last night, if Georgia somehow, some way would be shocked and fall to Kentucky this week, You would then have number 1 against number 2 in Columbus, Ohio next week.
Kentucky has looked bad.
I know that. I'm not predicting that will happen. Georgia's look great. But I'm just saying, you're either going to have number 2, number 3, or you could have number 1, number 2 in Columbus next week if they both win this weekend. Urban Meyer will be joining us for the big interview this coming Wednesday.
Looking forward to that.
He never lost to Michigan. Not one time in all his years with the mighty Buckeyes. Never lost to Michigan. Ohio State lost last year to Michigan. All right, we'll take a break. Lots to talk about off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Swinney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Swinney, the original used car superstore.
This group's pretty darn tight, especially the senior group. You have to be smart to play the game of football. I mean, there's so much put into it. They have put this team and this program before themselves.
This year, we walk in and there's just a different level of expectation. Every week, you have to come and be ready to go. I think that every guy in that locker room would feel that way.
Storm the field, Moeller does. They win it 21-17, and Moeller is on to the state semifinals.
Get to the Moeller game and probably lost a game we probably shouldn't have lost, to be honest with you. And we're making memories that these guys are going to remember 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
And so the kids know they have to come in focused and ready to go, and we have to put together a great week of preparation to have the best opportunity to win a game. And sometimes you're like, yeah, this is what we do. Win or go home,
That one felt pretty good, didn't it?
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Did I just hear, did I miss a story? And we talked about it a little bit this week. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now. In fact, I don't want to spend any time on it right now. But one of our viewers, who is this? USA veteran. We salute you, my friend. Thank you for your service. Apparently, Rod Manfred denies Pete Rose again. Is that accurate, Casey? You have that story in front of you? I missed that?
Yeah, so I'm just reading an article from CBS Sports that says on Thursday, Manfred was asked about Rose's latest bid on the Hall of Fame consideration, and his reply was, I believe that when you bet on baseball from Major League Baseball's perspective, you belong on a permanently ineligible list. When I dealt with the issue the last time he applied for reinstatement, I made clear that I didn't think the function of that baseball list was the same as the eligibility criteria for the Hall of Fame. That remains my position. I think it's a conversation that really belong on the Hall of Fame board. I'm on that board. It's just not appropriate for me to get in front of those talks.
Okay, so what basically he is saying there, and please don't misunderstand this here, if I understand it, but I know a little bit about how this thing is. What he's basically saying is he's not going to reinstate Pete Rose off the permanently banned list, meaning he cannot be back involved with baseball again. So he can't go back and become a general manager, or somebody wanted him to manage or be a hitting instructor or whatever, roving minor league instructor. And Pete would do all those jobs. He loves the game that much. If I hear that correctly, because you did say, if I heard you right there, Casey, that he has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame ballot part, right? Except he is on the Hall of Fame board.
Yeah. So, yes, that is correct.
Okay. So that's what that means. Before we get into the Bengals, hey, big-time high school football around here tonight.
Huge.
We've been running some of those documentaries that Chatterbox does such a phenomenal job on. It's not sitting here rooting for either team, but Chatterbox has had a fantastic relationship with Lakota West for a long, long time. They've just been very open in letting us come in there and to do games and all that kind of thing. And so, Tom Bolden left Coleraine to go to Lakota West. He's been building this thing up for this kind of game.
Yeah.
And tonight, Lakota West undefeated on the year after just drilling Elder last week. Dominant performance. Multiple players on that defense going major D1. Couple of Ohio State guys on that team that play in the secondary. But they're going to play the team that, by and large, even though Moeller's lost one game, that was against the team that's ranked number 1 in the state, and they lost by 1 point. They're going to play Moeller and Jordan Marshall tonight at Princeton High School. Trip to the state Final Four on the line tonight. Lakota West v. Mo. Thoughts, if any?
Yeah, I hosted the Firebird Coaches Show with Tom Bolden on Monday night, and just the energy around the game and the crowd that was there at the Coaches Show, the players, the energy from Bolden. You know that this is a game that Lakota West and Tom Bolden have been thinking about for a year since they lost to Moeller last year in the postseason. It's a game that you circle, you go through the summer, you work so hard, you do all this in the heat, then in the cold, then through the season. And if you're Lakota West, they're not going to admit it, they're not going to say it, but you play your whole season for this game.
Yep.
You play your whole season. And if you look at the bracket, you never want to overlook people, right? But just as an outsider, right, I don't have any stake in either team in this game. If you look at the bracket, either team really, whoever wins this game should be able to make the state final. And then from there, it's a toss-up. Who comes from the other side of the bracket?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a huge game for both teams. Obviously, it's going to be the best game in the state tonight. And Princeton High School is going to be electric.
It's going to be freezing cold. Gosh. It is really cold today.
Classic football weather.
Although the sun has come out, all the gray is gone, which, of course, when it's clear, it tends to be even colder. It's very windy today. Wonder what kind of effect that will have on the game. Bolden's kid's a quarterback.
Yep. Mitch.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And Moeller has the best running back in the state in Jordan Marshall, one of the top, many believe, top 5, top 10 junior running backs in the country, being recruited by everybody. It's going to be a great game. You also have my alma mater, the Anderson, formerly known as the Redskins, now the Raptors, came as an 8th seed, playing tonight against Kings for a trip to the Final Four. Anderson, one of those teams that never punts.
Oh, I love it.
They never punt. They
exciting.
score like 40, 50 a game. They've given up a ton through the years, but here they are. They got it going on. They're the most fun offensive team to watch in our area. I'm not saying they're the best. They're the most fun team to watch. Winton Woods was knocked off last week by Kings. Kings has a big-time program they're building up there. You've got Wyoming still left, undefeated. Top-ranked team in the state.
Wyoming's always got a good program.
C.J. Hester. Can't believe that guy's not going to Ohio University. I just can't believe it. Going to another school in the MAC. And after OU, I mean, is there any other school in the MAC? And then you've got Hamilton-Baden, undefeated, ranked number 1 in the state. Right?
Reed Mouse's guys.
Reed Mouse's guys. Am I forgetting anybody else in our area playing tonight? I know Madeira lost last week.
Edgewood lost last week.
Okay.
Reed would know better than I would. I've been looking at the chat. I don't see. It's Weston Moeller tonight, Tom.
It is. It is. Oh, by the way, Reed reminds me that Moeller's quarterback is a freshman. Do you know that? Starting quarterback for as they call themselves, the mighty men of Mo. And don't act like you don't have some skin in this game. You are a GCL guy. You said last week you were rooting for both Moeller and Elder to be playing in this game this week.
I mean,
you said that last week.
I mean,
Casey, true or false?
He did. He did say that.
I mean, like, I didn't.
You said it. So don't act like you don't have any skin in the game. You got skin in the game.
All right.
All right.
No,
I'm taking West in this game. Right. But anyway, I think it's pronounced Ponatoski or Ponatoski, their quarterback at Moeller. He's a Hamiltonian from right here in Hamilton. Played baseball at Westside Little League. Okay, let's get to the Bengals. We got our picks coming up in about 12 minutes. I got to tell you, I think the Bengals come out and take it to them. I think that they had the bye week. I think that they oftentimes when you have the bye week, it's a time of reflection a little bit on where you are, where you think you're going. You're not scrambling around to try to get ready for another game 7 days later. You've had 2 weeks off. You can heal people up. They're getting people back. I think they go in there and just take it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thoughts?
Well, just to respect the chat again, I'm not going to make a numbers prediction.
Why not?
I won't make a numbers prediction.
Are you backing down now from what is going on over there?
This is sad.
I said a numbers prediction, guys. I will say that you got to take them seriously, and that's why I think that they're going to handle business. I think they're going to go out there and show why they're the better team. I think they do come out with a win, but I'm not going to say they're going to dominate. I'm just going to say that they're going to prove why they're the better team. That's what I'm going to say about it. And
this is weak.
What is wrong with the? What's wrong with my take?
It's just what's the word that was made politically waffling?
Politically waffling.
Am I right or wrong, Paul?
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad how the mighty have fallen. You used to be so strong and so devout in
Paul,
your
you're
takes.
just a guy who was just not owning up to the GCL thing.
I mean,
so why are you pointing
I'm from
fingers at him?
Northern Virginia.
I understand that, but you're still come on.
I mean, did I have family that went to
all
Moeller?
you
Sure,
Xavier
but
guys, you're all, even if you're from Timbuktu, you're all falling in the camp of the GCL guys. I mean, you are, and you admitted it last week, so stand by it. Does that mean you're rooting for Moeller tonight, even though you just did the Tom Bolden show?
yeah, I don't care who wins tonight. I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't.
All right, so what are your thoughts, Paul, on the Bengals this week?
I'm with you, Tom. I think the Bengals roll this week. I really do. I think that the Bengals roll this week. I think that they have the season set out in front of them. They're coming off the bye week. They know what they have to do in a game like this where, as I said the other day, when the Bengals have their backs against the wall, when they've had their backs against the wall last season, now this year in a couple of games where we've deemed them must wins, I think that the Bengals have come out and played well when they've had to. They had a tough start to the year, but when they've actually had to go out and win games, they've done that. And I just think the Bengals roll this week. I really do.
You know, I think that that we're going to start seeing Mixon become a big part of this team. For those that were wondering, you know, is he done? Has he lost a step? All those kinds of things. And I know he ran crazy against Carolina, and Carolina is awful. They are terrible. And go figure, you know, the next week they turn around and beat the Atlanta Falcons. What does that say about the Falcons? So, you know, the games the Bengals have looked their best, we've documented it this year, have been the Saints, the Panthers, and Carolina. Those three teams really stink. I mean, if you had a stink list and you had a lower level below stink, like really stink, all three of those teams would be on that list. All right? But I still think that this offensive line that they brought in, I still think this group is a better run-blocking group than pass-blocking group. They have improved tremendously in pass blocking. They gave up 13 sacks the first two games. I know they've had a game here, moments there, but they have gotten a lot better as the season has gone on pass blocking. Now, they are facing a very solid pass rushing defense this week, the kind that has given them problems, including the team they're playing Sunday in the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've talked about T.J. Watt being back. We've talked about the other guys on that defensive line that can give you some trouble, which is why, and I'll probably end up being wrong, they'll probably come out and throw the ball 21 times in their first 24 plays, but I still think you have got to continue to prod and prod and prod and run the ball. It's time to start setting a tone for who this team is going to be. What are they going to be? As great as Higgins and Boyd are, they are not the same team throwing the football without Jamar Chase there.
Agreed. I'll give my fans in the chat.
You're losing fans by the second.
Every day.
I'd be very careful with that kind of jargon because you are being called a flip-flopper, no backbone. Tomas checks in. Anonymous says, light Casey up. So go ahead, Casey. Your fans are waiting.
Yeah. So if they come out and they run the ball, they have a balanced attack, they will dominate the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they go out there and they try to throw the ball 17 times, they will lose. And it's not going to be pretty. So Zach Taylor, please run the football and run it very effectively. You got to pull out all the stops for this defense. Because we're sick and tired of you just doing whatever you think you can do to try to win games by, let's have Joe Burrow cook. When it's one of the best freaking pass rushers in the whole league, and you don't run the ball in one of the worst defenses run stopping. Come on now. Let's show them what we can be. Be balanced. Run it down their throat, and throw it over the top when they start loading up the box. That's the way we're going to win this game. That's the way we're going to win the rest of the season. Actually, if you go look on our Chatterbox Twitter, I actually predicted that we might win every single game the rest of the way.
Who did?
I did. We'll win every single game.
Yeah,
the rest of the season.
No. The key word in that sentence that you just said is we.
The Bengals. The Bengals.
No, we not we will. We might.
We will.
If that isn't the ultimate waffling word, I don't know what is.
No, they're not. They're going to lose the last game because they'll be sitting their starters again.
Good point, Paul. But
neither one of you believes that.
No,
there is
seriously.
no way either one of you
If they-
truly believes they are going to win the rest of their games.
No, if they
With the schedule that they have, you're telling me you both, I want you on the record. I don't want any mites. Are you telling me you think the Bengals, Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Ravens, Titans, New England, Cleveland, you're telling me you think they're going to win every game? That means their record, help me here, they have 5 wins, and they have how many games left?
8 games.
8, right?
They get to 12.
You're telling me
12-5.
they're going 12-5. And they sit, no, they wouldn't be 12-5. It'd be 13-4.
Yep.
No, they lose the last game because they're sitting their starters.
Oh, okay.
So
All right,
12-5, they lose. Okay. Yes, and this is how they'll do it, and this is the only way I'm going to actually secure this sort of bet that I'm making here. If Joe Mixon has 20 rushes every single game from here on out, they will win every single game. If he has 20 rushes or more. Guaranteed.
Paul?
I can't give this take with a straight face. I tried. I really tried.
You want to make
That's all it
are you in the
takes. That's all it
prediction
takes.
business, Paul, with the games they have left?
I will say of the 8 games they have left,
Yeah,
8
they
games.
have 8 games.
I will say 5-3.
All right, so again, with 10 wins and probably gets them into playoffs.
Yeah, I say 5.
And you know what? We thought early on that the 10 wins was going to get you in. The thing is, it has changed. And somebody, by the way, I want to thank you for, this was very early in the program when I was making reference to the guys I was listening to very late at night last night on the radio. It's a great, the guy's really good. But somebody put their name in there.
Oh, yes. Way back up. I know who they were talking about, and I can't remember who they said.
Anyway, they were talking
Freddie
about,
and Fitzsimmons.
Yes, Freddie. Yeah, that guy, I really like him a lot. And I can't remember what it's Freddie. I
got to go back and look it up. I know the show.
Why am I drawing a blank on his last name? Anyway, but when you start looking at the AFC, and they were talking about this here last night, you have already all these teams that are sitting with 6 wins or more in the AFC. Now, I know the Bengals have 5, but you've already got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Titans, the Ravens, the Jets, Miami, I said them. I mean, you've got 6 teams that already are sitting with 6 wins on the year. Now, the Jets, the Patriots, who have won 5, and the Dolphins all have another circle playing, inside their division. But I don't know. I don't know if 10 anymore guarantees you get in.
I don't think it does. Not with their divisional record or the conference record the way
both.
it is.
Yeah, conference starting first. Yeah.
I really think they got to win at least 11 to make it in. I really do.
Sounds like we got to go 6-2 against these B-list teams you just listed off.
Yeah, all those stiffs. All those teams that I just mentioned, half of them you're playing.
All these clown shows.
Kansas City. You know what I didn't realize last night? Until I heard this again. I should have known this, and we've talked about how well the guy's playing and how well they're playing. Do you realize that Tua is 7-0 this year in games he has started and finished? That's a Dolphins record in games that he has started and finished. He started the Bengals game, did not finish. They lost. The 2 games he was out concussed, they lost 2 of those games. They are 7-0 in games that Tua has started and finished. So you got to play Kansas City, Tennessee, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England. 5 of those teams. And then you throw in Tampa Bay. But 5 of those teams are all in front of you right now in the AFC playoff picture. So, will the mighty Cincinnati Bengals, will they show up Sunday and try to, at least for one day, exorcise the demons known as the Pittsburgh Steelers? Or will they go to Pittsburgh and do what they've done so many, many times before and lay an egg? Picks in a minute, boys. It's time for picks after this commercial timeout.
This group's pretty darn tight, especially the senior group. You have to be smart to play the game of football. I mean, there's so much put into it. They have put this team and this program before themselves.
This year, we walk in and there's just a different level of expectation. Every week, you have to come and be ready to go. I think that every guy in that locker room would feel that way.
Storm the field, Moeller does. They win at 21-17, and Moeller is on to the state semifinals.
Get to the Moeller game and probably lost a game we probably shouldn't have lost, to be honest with you. And we're making memories that these guys are going to remember 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
And so the kids know they have to come in focused and ready to go, and we have to put together a great week of preparation to have the best opportunity to win a game. And sometimes you're like, yeah, this is what we do. Win or go home,
That one felt pretty good, didn't it?
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, and we continue to get many of you that are repeat visitors and viewers and listeners to the program, but we also welcome some of our newbies, so to speak. Freddie Coleman, thank you very much, Anonymous, and Ian Fitzsimmons. But Freddie Coleman, I really like that guy a lot. So what we're doing is we have our picks every single week, and whoever has the best record at the end of the year will have $1,000 donated to his or her favorite charity. So that's where we stand right now. We got to lose the Brandon thing because it's old news now.
Okay.
It belongs to Paul. He's in front. I'm bringing up the rear, Case sandwiched in the middle. But, fellas, now we're at the time, especially, I'm sitting 6 back, but closing fast. Casey is 3 back and fading fast. So Brandon is gone. Paul's coming off a couple of big weeks. The last couple of weeks, you're what, 16-4? Is that right?
16-4.
I mean, that's getting it done.
Yep.
That is getting it done.
Some legit work he's doing here.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's get it started, fellas. Here we go. We're starting in what? College football.
College football. We start up north.
Ugh. You know what? From now on, they're always last. Okay?
Always last? Okay.
Always last.
Oh, I put.
Not next week, they're not. But from now on, they're always last.
Oh, I saved the best for last for you.
Okay. If you want to look at it that way, that's fine. Illinois is an interesting team. Brett Bielema comes in there. We know his reputation back in his Wisconsin days. Goes down to Arkansas, didn't work out so well. He gets back into the head coaching ranks. He goes to Illinois, where it's been a black hole at Illinois. And it's really mystifying because there's so many great athletes in Chicago, most of them in and around the state of Illinois in 2-3 decades have been leaving to go play somewhere else. Ohio State, Michigan, wherever else. And Bielema starts this year. They lose a game early, but then they rip off. I think at one point they were 6-1. They were ranked in the top 25. They were running the ball 35, 45 times a game. Bielema, protege of Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin. But now all of a sudden, these last 2 weeks, they get killed by a very average, if not below average, Michigan State team. Then they lose again last week. I think it was Purdue, tight game. And now they're going to play, without a doubt, one of the best teams in the country, that team up north, who is favored in this one by 18. And I think knowing what we know, playoff implications on the line, all those kinds of things, along with a great head coach, pains me to say it because it is the Wolverines, but Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, and he will have them ready to go. Michigan will cover the 18.
Yeah, I also I'm struggling a bit to pick against Michigan here. They're two really good defensive teams. I think Michigan has probably the better athletes. Obviously they have the better athletes. They're a bigger program. Yeah, I think Michigan will cover. It's gonna be close though. I don't think they're gonna blow them out. I don't think it's gonna be 10-50. I think it's actually gonna be a really close cover.
10 to. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I thought you meant. I was like, that's a crazy. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm going with Casey here, and you guys. We're all on Michigan. Lot of M's there. All right, next one. The Horned Frogs.
Coming off a huge win at Texas last week. Huge win. For TCU. Every game when you're undefeated, and let's face it, barring, scenarios which not even a Stephen King imagination could come up with, TCU's going to have to win out to get into the college football playoff. For those of us in this part of the country, I've only known it just the last couple of years, TCU's biggest rival by far is Baylor. Only a couple of hours apart, both private schools, both good football programs, have for a long, long time. Huge expectations from Baylor when this season began, especially considering the way it ended last year. New Year's Six bowl game, won that game. It's not played out that way. Baylor was humiliated last week by the team, and I keep talking about nobody's going to want to play this team, and that's Kansas State. But Baylor's at home. Students will be out for Thanksgiving break, I'm assuming. But, it's such a big metroplex and then beyond down into Waco that I'm sure it'll still be a huge crowd down there. But TCU favored by 2.5. I got to take the Horned Frogs.
All right. Casey?
Yeah, I hate – that's a strong word. I dislike going against a team that's been doing so hot and has been on the roll. But I got to say TCU loses this game against Baylor. Baylor's got a decent defense, I guess. There's just a lot of momentum here for TCU. I'm expecting an upset. I think they're going to be riding high against their win against Texas, which was probably their biggest game of the season. That's the only other reason, though. And Baylor's been a kind of a nightmare for TCU. So,
I tried to call my shot early last week. Texas not back. That was a bad game. That was TCU the entire way. Terrible game for the Longhorns. Going to try it again this week. I think Baylor gets it done.
Wow.
I think I might have been a week early.
Don't ever wear the TCU sweatshirt
I think
again.
I might have been a week early.
Don't ever wear it again.
I'll wear it on Monday when they win.
Nope.
And I'll be in here
you're
with the
kind
purple
we
on.
don't need hanging around.
You got to give it to
Yeah, and what's funny about this is I keep going back and forth on whether the whole national narrative, it's funny the last 4 or 5 weeks listening to the national narrative on TCU because it really wasn't until the last week. And to be quite honest, Tom, I don't even necessarily – I do think that this is a close game. There's a chance here that TCU squeaks this out maybe by a field goal or less if this line – we have it at 2.5. But if this line gets up at 3.5, that this could be, maybe a field goal game for TCU.
What's the money doing in this game?
But that's what I was just about to get to. 78% of the bets are on TCU in this game, but the majority of the money, 54%, is on Baylor.
Okay.
So the sharps are on Baylor. Might have been a week early on my TCU fade. Definitely was a week early. If TCU wins this one, then they just keep rolling. And you know what? Good for TCU that they keep in the face of everybody across the country. They every single week says, well, this is the week, including myself last week and now this week. They just keep getting it done. But
you're picking against them.
I'm picking Baylor to cover, not necessarily to win. I'm picking them to cover 2.5.
Okay. By the way, AJ writes in, says, give me the Frogs all day, says 2.5 is a steal. But AJ said Waco, Texas is a miserable town. AJ, couldn't disagree with you more. I thought the same thing. And now that couple that's all over television.
Yeah, Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Magnolia, right?
Come on.
We were down there on a college visit not too long ago. I got to tell you, if I had to put in $10 million, if I had it, into any town in Texas right now where you're buying low and what might be coming, I'm telling you, the very face of Waco, Texas is starting to change. And all the companies in America are moving down there. Okay, what else we got?
2 more college games. UC Temple.
Boy, to me, this is I keep right on picking UC, and I'm going to pick them again this week. And I give Luke Fickell all the credit in the world. What this guy's done at this program is unbelievable. It's unfair to compare this team to last year's team. But, gosh, did they look – it was ugly last week. It was really ugly. If they can't run the ball and they're relying on throwing the ball, they're in big trouble. But Temple stinks. So I'm going with UC to cover this.
Okay.
Well, I've been fading the UC games pretty much all season long. Going to continue to do it. I'm taking Temple on this one. They just always seem to keep games close. They never put away their opponent like they should, and this is going to be one of those games where they just can't do it. At -17, I'm feeling pretty good about Temple.
UC's had a great season record-wise. They have not had a great season against the spread. They just haven't been able to put teams away late. Saw that late last week against East Carolina. I think Temple, as much as this pains me to say, because Temple is so bad, and UC should be able to run away with this. It's been too profitable fading UC this year, and I'm not going to stop now. I'm with you, Casey.
Tell you what, boys, we got a chance for a little bit of either losing a lot of ground or gaining a lot of ground.
You and I do. Casey and I are the same on all but one pick.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. This could be a big week for the Brennaman camp.
Yeah.
Or a really bad week for the Brennaman camp.
This is going to be a separating week, one way or the other.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right.
Although we've got a full NFL season and bowl games and everything, so, don't get down and out quite yet. We got 2 more college games left.
3.
I misread. We have this one and then 2 more.
Okay,
I misread
so we have, the pillow fight. USC, number 7 at number 16, UCLA. Just too much talent on SC's team, even though they lost their star running back. And you know that USC has really good backup running backs, but it was a shame. I hate to see. I kid around a lot. but hate to see any kid, anybody get hurt. And they lost their star tailback for the season last week. But I think the Trojans go to the Rose Bowl, and they're giving UCLA 2. I think USC covers.
Well, I think that if UC wants a chance to sneak in there with Lincoln Riley in the playoffs, they got to win this game. And that might be the only reason why I picked them. I think also USC just probably has the better athletes. And this has been just a crazy season for UCLA. I think this is where it ends for them. USC gets it done.
The tinfoil hat in the back of my brain just keeps thinking that the Pac-12 is going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they have a shot at the postseason this year. The conspiracy theorist that's just, edging back there, way back here, doesn't think that USC is going to be able to lose this game. I think that USC rolls in this one.
Okay, straight across the board. 2 more college games to go. 22.5. Kentucky is coming off really its worst loss in the Stoops era. Not only who they lost to in Vanderbilt last week, but the way they lost that game. I have a couple really good friends of mine who are UK guys, and they were just in shock about the way that thing ended last week. Georgia, number 1 ranked team in the country. They're going to be in the college football playoff outside of losing this game and another game, and that's not going to happen. But I think the Wildcats cover here. I think UK covers in this game. So I'm going with Kentucky to cover at 22.5.
Wow. What a pick.
Yeah.
You and I we're gonna walk in here on Monday morning, and one of us is going to be real happy and one of us is going to be real sad.
I assume that means you're taking KC, Georgia.
I'm taking Georgia. 22.5 spread is nothing, I think, and UK has just been kind of waffling out of their chances of doing anything this season.
No doubt about that.
Maybe Will Levis is not as good as we think.
I'm sticking with Georgia. For some reason, the draft stock on Will Levis really hasn't changed all that much. Everybody in the draft is still real high on Will Levis, but there's just complete disarray about Kentucky right now. The program is not looking good after losing to Vandy last week. I mean, how do you lose to Vandy? That was a terrible, terrible loss.
No doubt.
For a Kentucky team that was hoping to contend in the SEC this year, in preseason. I think Georgia wins this by 1 billion. I don't think this one. I think this is a disaster. This could be a disaster. Is this a safety issue for UK? Oof. I think it's bad.
Okay. Safety issue. Come on. Come on. All right, and last but certainly second to last.
We had way more.
Number 5, Tennessee at South Carolina. South Carolina is another really weird team. They had gotten on a nice roll there. They got the Rattler kid right at quarterback. They were starting to play quite well, and then they just get completely massacred last week in Florida. I thought I read where they gave up like 438 yards of rushing offense in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Tennessee is going to just light them up. Tennessee covers 22.5.
Okay, Casey.
Yeah, I also agree with you, Tom. They're definitely going to cover this one. Tennessee has just been they're scoring 50 points a game, it feels like. So I don't think South Carolina has a chance in this one.
Tennessee. On to the next.
Okay.
Last college game for real this time.
The mighty Ohio State University Buckeyes. They've won every game this year by double digits. They're the only team of the major college football powers that can make that statement. 10-0 are the Bucks. They go to Maryland. Maryland's not a bad team. Maryland's not a bad team at all. Well, you guys come walking in the door, and what do you got going on over there?
That's all me. Rookie move. I'm a rookie.
Boy, that really is a rookie move.
It took him 2 weeks to figure out
coming up here in a minute.
slamming the door, shakes the camera, and now he comes in here with the program, blasting.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
27.5. The Mighty Bucks cover this.
All right.
They got to get healthy, though. I mean, they got to get healthy. Ryan Day said in his press conference on Monday, they're down to their third-string tailback. Travion Henderson, first-team All-America pick before the season started, has really played in only about two-thirds of the games. Kid out of Winton Woods, Mayan Williams, becoming this big star. He gets hurt last week. Ryan Day is asked, what's the deal, along with another kid who's hurt. He says 2 of the 3 will be back. Doesn't say which 2 of the 3. They got to have Williams and Henderson back ready to go by Michigan next week. But first things first, Bucks cover.
Yeah, Bucks cover. As much as I do like Maryland, I just don't think 27.5 is not enough. This Ohio State team is just too good. So,
Bucks big on the NFL.
Should be noted, Maryland gave Michigan the toughest game Michigan has had this year.
It's true.
Right.
That was a tight one into the fourth quarter, and that was at Michigan. Maryland at home this week. All right, NFL. This game now in Detroit because of all that snow. By the way, did you see that radar picture?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
For those of you at home, you got to check it out. I mean, it's like, are you kidding? They showed the radar sitting over western New York. It looks almost identical to the Bills logo.
Yeah, I actually sent it to Paul.
Yep.
Yesterday, I sent it to him as a tweet. I actually will pull it up here in like 2 seconds. If
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is cool. When you put them side by side, you really appreciate it. But anyway, 7.5, Buffalo, now that game on the turf in Indianapolis. Take a look at this real quick. Punch it up there, Case. Look at that. Can you believe that?
That's a sign.
I mean, even the colors are the same.
That's a sign that they should have stayed in Buffalo.
Yeah, it would have been fun to watch. That's cool. I mean, well, yeah, hey, look, the old blind acorn deal, right? Blind squirrel and the acorn. All right, I'm going with the Brownies.
Oh, God.
To cover.
Don't do it, Tom.
7.5. It's already up there.
They stink. All right.
Brownies to cover.
I'm taking Buffalo. Are you kidding me? Come on now.
Yeah.
The Browns stink.
In a dome in Detroit now, I'm taking Buffalo too.
Okay. I was worried about this game in Buffalo, but if now it's in a dome, forget about it.
I did not realize, good friend of mine, Jeff Gibson, who had chimed in here on the program, did you know that the Bills are playing in Detroit on Thanksgiving?
Oh, I didn't.
What?
I think they play there on Thanksgiving Day.
Huh. So they can just stay there.
Well, I mean, that was his point. Why not just stay? And I'll bet you they thought about that. Maybe they didn't. All right. Panthers v. Ravens, no-brainer. 13, Ravens all over the stinking Panthers.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm also taking Baltimore on this one. Panthers defense stinks, unlike what I thought a couple weeks ago.
Ravens.
Okay. Next up.
Jets, Pats.
The Jets have lost 13 in a row. Bill Belichick had the week off last week in the Patriots. But I think there's something different about the Jets, Jets. This has to come to an end sooner or later. 3.5 the spread. I'm taking the New York Jets.
That streak is not ending anytime soon with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Are you kidding me?
I got to do something to make up some ground here.
Patriots all the way, man. Come on.
All right. Tom, I'm with you.
You're kidding me.
Golly,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's terrible.
I'm with you. I think I like Zach Wilson. I'm riding the Jets.
I'm not going that far. I tell you what. I tell you one thing I do like, and again, I keep getting back to last night. I mean, I was sitting in there in that parking lot for almost an hour and 45 minutes. I love Zach Wilson's confidence. I don't know if he's any good or not, but I mean, in a town like New York, for him to come out and basically take on these media guys head on that are questioning not whether or not he's a franchise guy or any good or all this kind of stuff. He's not backing down anybody. And he says he's going to play good this weekend.
I sure hope so.
All right.
Sake.
2 more.
Well, you don't hope so. Paul, explain this one to me. Okay, I'm taking Minnesota. Explain to me how Dallas is favored in this game.
Yeah,
I'm serious about this.
I honestly, I don't know.
It's 425.
I mean,
that's the
there could be something to that.
That's legitimately why I picked this game. I will not lie to you. I have not watched barely any of the Cowboys this year except for when they played the Bengals. I've watched some Vikings because they've played at 425 and they've been in the regional window a couple of times. Or they played at 1, I mean. Casey, you go first.
Well, Tom, you got to still make your pick.
I made my pick. I'm taking Minnesota.
He's taking the Vikings.
He's taking
I'm taking Minnesota.
Okay. I am taking the Cowboys. It was actually kind of a toss-up, but once I realized it was 425, that's an easy pick for me to make.
You mean the same Cowboys last week who played at 425 in Green Bay? 325
no.
Technically.
It's Kirk Cousins.
I know that, but I'm saying the team they're playing against had a 2-touchdown lead in Green Bay last week and decided it was a really good idea to start slinging it around. Let's don't run the ball, which got us a 2-touchdown lead. Let's start throwing the ball. You know, burn 4 seconds here, burn 7 seconds there. Make sure that Aaron Rodgers can get the ball back. Good idea. Really good.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott is also back.
We're moving. I mean, the Cowboys. You can have the Cowboys. Who are you taking?
I'll take the Cowboys.
You got them. You got them. This is the matchup of two quarterbacks that have a lot to prove. They got a lot to prove.
Yep.
Because when you look at, I don't understand why everybody gets so excited about Dak Prescott. I just don't get it. Bengals. Here we go. I'm taking the Bengals.
Oh, you're taking Bengals. Well,
-4.
I'm also taking my Bengals.
Of course you are.
And I'm taking the Bengals.
Of course you are. Homer show.
You got the Steelers colors on, Casey.
Great Homer show.
I was supporting my Norse.
The Norse.
For another day. I just wanted to wear more.
Love the Norse.
Love the Norse.
Love the Norse. Love the
him.
coach. We're going to have him on this. You're going to see him a lot this year. Because that guy can talk. He's smart. Good coach. Winning games. We like him. Can't get the highfalutin guys on, though. All the pull that Paul has down there with Sean Miller.
We haven't.
Wes Miller over at UCLA. All these
making
guys.
it sound like
we
he's
can't
denied
get
you.
any
We haven't even asked.
Guys on there. We can get the Urban Meyers of the world on.
You haven't even
But
asked.
we can get Dusty Baker. Think about that for a minute. We got Dusty Baker who just won the Major League Baseball World Series.
World champion.
And we can't get Sean Miller or Luke Fickle. We can't get any.
Sean did
we got
Brandon's
Urban Meyer
show?
coming on.
Sean did Brandon's show? You haven't even asked.
Oh, he did Brandon's show, but not your show, Tom?
Who did?
Sean Miller.
Sean Miller was on Brandon's show.
Well, that was a different kind of a show.
Yeah, fair.
It's a different kind of show.
To be fair to these guys, we haven't asked any of them. Have we?
No.
We did ask Luke Fickle.
Okay.
We did.
Well.
We did. And we've got a real leader of men coming on Wednesday. Urban. All right, fellas, do we have a cherry on top, or is this tired act over?
Well, it was the Bills tweet.
Yeah, well, okay, we've already seen it. Brought to you by UDF. Thank God it's time to shift gears to box lunch. Guys, what's happening?
Tom, where does you say leader of men?
Leader of men.
Lot. Where's that come from?
Chris Spielman. You say it all the time. I work around him, and he did it kind of as a joke after a while. And so I've borrowed some of his material.
Fair.
Tom, you've made me laugh.
That's another guy we got to get on, Chris Spielman. Now, you talk about a leader of men. By the way, on a serious note for a second, I want to say, and I don't know if he'll see this or not, but Many of you may be aware, they have the James Cancer Center up at Ohio State University.
Yep.
It's become world-renowned and so forth. The breast cancer area of that James Cancer Center is named after Stephanie Spielman, Chris's wife. And the anniversary of her death is tomorrow. And to watch Chris even now, and he's since gotten remarried just in the last couple of years, but she went through 3 or 4 different bouts with breast cancer, finally losing her final battle years ago. And so we remember Stephanie Spielman here on Chatterbox Sports, and our prayers are to the entire Spielman clan, some of my favorite people. So now you want to get back to more nonsense?
I mean,
that?
you've done this to us.
How am I going to go to nonsense?
It's like
after
2 weeks
that?
in a row where you've
Chris would
you
be
give
upbeat.
these
He'd
beautiful
appreciate us thinking about it and remember it. He'd be okay with that. We're good.
Let's talk about the Vikings for a second, since you think that you're so high on these guys.
I'm not so high on them. I'm just saying. I just wonder how a team that is 8-1. Okay, now I know their schedule hadn't been great.
You have them in your top 3.
I know, but that doesn't mean I think any of them are great. I don't think any of the teams in the NFL are great. I think there are there's some very good teams.
But you're like
all beatable, clearly. I mean, Buffalo, everybody was ready to send them to the Super Bowl, and now they've lost 2 games in a row and not look very good doing it. All I'm saying is this.
Well, you guys think you can't fathom why they would be why the Cowboys are favored, right?
I mean, who have the Cowboys beaten?
Let's do the opposite. I got this for you. Okay,
of course, Minnesota hasn't either.
Outside of week 1 in Minnesota, right? They did beat the Packers 23-7. Packers have turned out not to be all that good.
Right.
They then went on the road and they lost 24-7 to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They've played a lot of home games on their schedule so far. They played the Lions at home, won by 4. They played the Saints at home, won by 3. Played the lowly Bears at home.
They played the Saints in London.
Okay. Well, it's on my thing.
Yeah.
To be
They're
fair,
the
good
home
point.
team, yeah.
They were the home team, but they played the Bears at home, won by 5. Played a two-less Miami Dolphins, and they won that game by a touchdown. And they beat the Cardinals at home, and then they did beat the Commanders by 3, and they just beat the Bills. But my point is, all of their home games have been a very, very tight margin against some teams that we can both agree on that are not very good. So that's probably the answer to that. Maybe the Vikings, and I'm not saying they're this bad, but maybe the Vikings are similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers a few years ago when the Steelers were 11-0 or whatever they were. What were they?
Yeah, 11-0.
The Steelers were 11-0, and they just kind of felt like frauds.
And don't include the Bengals.
The thing about the NFL is
that doesn't count.
I mean, you can look at strength of wins and stuff like that, but it's hard to win in the NFL.
Yes,
period.
it is.
I mean, any given week you can lose.
That's exactly right.
So
last time I checked, there's only 2 teams in the NFL that have 1 loss.
I think they also would like to take into consideration that it took a miracle, literally a miracle. Let's be real here, for them to actually have won that game.
Won what game?
The Vikings.
Bills.
The Vikings and the Bills. It took a miracle for them to win.
It did take a miracle for them to win, but also it did take a miracle for them to win, but it also took a miracle for them not to lose. Because that catch on the sideline was not a catch. The Bills don't kick that field goal to tie the game to give them a chance to lose in overtime.
I don't disagree with you on that. I'm just saying that the odds of you actually winning that football game were probably like a 0.1% chance.
You're right.
It literally took one miss snap, and they don't recover their own.
You're right.
Snap.
I can't. Nobody can argue that point.
First of all,
who are the Cowboys?
The Cowboys also, we got to remember, they played without Dak. I know you're not high on Dak, but
I'm saying,
whatever.
But 2 of their 3 losses have been with Dak.
Fair. So they on the road, they went to New York and they beat the Giants.
Mediocre at best.
Oh, come on.
Mediocre at best.
Okay.
I guarantee
I'm talking about
they'll finish with at least 6 losses, if not more, this year. Go ahead.
I'm talking about
7 maybe.
Then don't get mad at me when I put them on the stink list.
Go ahead.
They beat.
Hypocrite.
They did beat Washington 25-10 pretty handedly there.
Okay.
Right?
That was pre-Taylor Heineke, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Okay?
I know the high again. Rush was the game leader in passing yards. So whether it was Heineke or the other guy, it wasn't very good.
All right.
And as I looked through this, it's not great. There's not a lot to hang my hat on. They beat the Bengals, but outside of that, it isn't very good. When you play in the North this year, I think that's part of maybe why I think sometimes the Vikings don't have a great schedule, because they have to play the Bears and the Packers and the Lions. But when I look down at this list, if we're not going to give respect to the what are they in the East?
Yes.
Yeah, which is kind of wild considering they're not really in the East.
And 3 teams would be in the playoffs right now. From
I mean, if you're not going to give them,
and you have another team, the Commanders have a winning record, right? So every team in that division has a winning record.
Commanders aren't a team you want to play.
500 or better.
They beat the Bears pretty good. I mean, does margin of victory matter to you, or do you not care?
I don't. That's tough. No.
Okay.
No.
I was just saying, they have good margin of victory.
All I'm saying is that you've got a team that's 8-1 at home, and I'm just having a hard time understanding, and this is where the guys in Vegas, the reason why they have all the money and I don't, is because, but to make Dallas a road favorite in this game, right. I don't understand it.
It's almost like they're trying to trick the public into betting one side because they feel like they have a strong advantage on the other one.
There you go.
All
right, what else we got today, boys?
Well, we're gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers and the whole Twitter fiasco that was going on last night, and a few other things. Talk about some college brands, but I do got to give you credit, Tom. I watched doing work out there. I watch your show. I laughed so hard at multiple times today when you called the USC and the UCLA game a pillow fight.
Pillow fight.
I cackled out there.
They could have
heard me from three blocks down. That was the funniest thing I've heard in a while. That was good. That was really funny.
Probably unfair of me to say that because there's some big, strong men who I wouldn't want to run into somewhere that are playing for both of those teams. And who knows, maybe the Trojans. They'd have to beat UCLA this week. They'd have to beat Notre Dame at home next week, and the Irish are playing well right now. And then they would have to beat another really good, solid team in the Pac-12 championship game. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that, because Oregon and Utah, I think, play this weekend. That's another big game.
Yeah.
In terms of who's going to play in the Pac-12 championship game.
Bo Nix probably out, I've heard.
What's that?
Through all the podcasts that I listen to, which I listen to a lot in college football, I've heard a couple reputable sources say that they don't think that Bo Nix is going to play, even though Oregon hasn't said that.
No.
So we'll see how that goes.
And I would think Utah would win that game.
I agree.
I think Utah would beat them anyway.
I think Utah's there no matter what. Right?
Yeah. So if USC wins out, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say anything bad about them at all. They would deserve, in my opinion, depending on how the top 4 or 5 play out there. But, if USC won out.
Right.
Okay. No, hang on a second. Okay. Hold on. If Georgia's going to be in there, you got the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say TCU wins out and goes undefeated. So now you have in your top 3, you'd have Georgia, let's just say Ohio State, and you have TCU. If the 4th team comes down to Pac-12 champion USC, one loss. Tennessee, one loss, but did not play in the SEC title game. Forget winning it. Michigan, one loss. Conceivable. No. Okay, so that's that. So if you have Tennessee,
Clemson.
Michigan, Clemson, I guess, but
loss,
they're not going to do it. So if you have USC, Pac-12 champ, one loss. Tennessee, only loss is to Georgia. And then Michigan. Who gets the 4th spot?
I have a strong opinion that I think it's USC. And I think that it's largely based off the fact that they play, in my opinion, I know that you think it's a cupcake league. I think it's a better league than all of the leagues outside the Big 2. I would argue you could say it's better than Big 10, but I think that I've always held the opinion of leagues. I care about who you beat more so than maybe how good your 8th, 9th, 10th team are, right? I want championship level teams. I think the Pac has proven they got 2 or 3 teams at the top that on any given day they can beat what I would call good teams. outside of that, they lost on a 2-point conversion as well, right? So, like, their one loss was against Utah, and I think they lost by 1 single point.
Yep.
And I know I sound like I'm a hater, and I'm sure there's some biasy deep down in there. I'm not a believer in Tennessee. I'm really not. I think that Tennessee's had some fortune. They played LSU at 11 o'clock in the morning early in the year against a newly led Brian Kelly LSU team, and they went out and give them credit. They won the football game 40-13.
Yep.
After that, though, I don't see where the big time performances have come and been like, oh, wow. Yeah, they score a lot of points.
Alabama was a good win.
But Alabama's not that great of a win to me anymore. It's just
Okay.
not.
All right.
I mean, Texas had Alabama dead to right. Texas A&M, for God's sakes. No one wants to talk about the fact that if they get a 2-point conversion, they beat Alabama.
No, you're right.
I mean, Alabama has a stigma of just being elite because of their name on the jersey. But if Alabama, quite frankly, is Kentucky this year and you swap the jerseys on him, no one's even talking about how Kentucky's that great of a win. So that's my point about Alabama and Tennessee. And I think we'll see. Here's one unique thing that happens at the end of this year for college football. Clemson plays South Carolina next week. South Carolina plays Tennessee this week. Like it or not, there's going to be some comparisons made on which team beats the other team by how many points.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I'm telling you, we have this philosophy, this system in the room here that everyone knows about. Vegas is not a big fan of the Vols. And I'm not saying they're going to lose this week to South Carolina, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was a relatively tight game. It's a night game in South Carolina.
Yep. And they have quarterbacks capable.
Spencer Rattler can reel off a game that maybe won for the ages.
Stinks.
But my point to all of this is I just don't see how Tennessee would get in over a team that wins their league with one loss and lost on a 2-point conversion. That has to be impossible.
I can't argue with that. 1,000% correct. I think USC will go. And USC's a brand.
Well, all three of those teams that would get in are brands.
Yeah.
Those final 3 teams, Tennessee, Michigan, and USC, are all brands.
But Tennessee a distant third on that list.
Veteran chimed in here. Veteran, the point that I'm making is that I'm not saying Kentucky and Alabama are the same. They're not. Alabama's a significantly better team. What I'm saying is if you took the jerseys and you swap them with the same players, and Kentucky had the exact same season as Alabama's had. Now, granted, I know they'd have to go play in the West or whatever. But my point is if you didn't have the stigma and the aurora of Alabama, no one would talk about how they're a great team or a good team. They wouldn't.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a big weekend, boys.
This is.
Hitch up your jockstrap. Time to go. And it's time now for the boxed lunch. Fellas, thank you. Nice job.
Thank you, Tom.
Have a good weekend.
You're the man, Tom.
Big weekend, boys.
Last question I got. There's a big game tonight, obviously. This isn't me saying it. This isn't Chatterbox, to be clear. Chatterbox is not putting this out. But the line that's going around tonight is Moeller, 6.5-point favorites. Who would you take?
That's not the line.
What? That's what I've heard in the back. What are you saying it is?
The line that came out today was Lakota West, 4.5-point favorites.
Wow. Okay. Well, then we'll
where
use
does that line come
This
out?
comes from some jabronis up in Cleveland.
This Cleveland sports fan that puts it out every Friday.
Oh, come on.
But regardless.
Are you kidding me?
There's
a dude who's putting point spreads on high school football games.
Every week.
Every week.
All season.
Okay.
Writes him on like a yellow notepad too. I like the way it looks. If we're being honest.
Okay.
He's got 500,000 followers.
Look. Why don't we split the difference?
He's got a
there,
500,000
Moeller's
followers.
favored by 6-1. Lakota's. Let's just call him a
pick'em.
pick 'em. I'm taking Lakota West.
Wow. Okay.
Win the game. Okay. Outright win the game. This is their year. This is their year. Yep. This is their year. Yep. This is their year.
All right. That's it. That's your day is done.
You guys disagree?
I can't even pick it because I know I'm taking the cop out, but
well, you've turned into Casey 2.0.
I would take Moeller. I would take Moeller.
Okay. Well, the freshman quarterback's going to have to beat him because Lakota West can play some defense.
I don't know if he's going to play. The first time he played was last week, and he played significant time. That was just a weird story.
Chatterbox should know this. We should know this. I mean, this is
we're not getting any inside from Moeller.
No, but we should know this. Why
did he play?
Why did he play? One, does Chat know? Why did the freshman kid from Moeller play last week? They let Mason kind of come back on him, and I'm sure
the other kids played good all year.
Right.
I mean, they lost one game.
Did he get hurt or did he come out?
That's the question. I don't know either. But it's going to be if that freshman kid's in there. And look, you hope everybody does well. They're high school kids. We're rooting for all of them, and I don't say that waffling on anything. You want them all to go out there and play well and have great memories for the rest of their lives of being able to play in a game just like this. So we wish them well. Boys, it's all yours.
That comes from the man that says that we can still be hard on kids.
That's exactly right. Get ready to get ready to get ready. And no excuses.
I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that from you.
That was an old strength and conditioning coach we had with the Cubs years ago, Garrett Guimont. He went over to the Raiders for years and years as their strength and conditioning coach. He used to say every day you saw him. Get ready to get ready to get ready.
So he went from training Sammy Sosa to training the Raiders?
It was pre-Sammy Sosa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. See you, boys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
been saying in this office for a while, boys.
You have. We were saying the.
And
pack
I like
is
this
back.
guy. This isn't even a take. This isn't even a take of like being upset at the quarterback of the team that I like or nothing like that. There's honestly, I've always joked. I think there's one player that I would ever wear their jersey and go to their Hall of Fame ceremony, and for me, that's Aaron Rodgers.
You are out on jerseys, even though when you.
I'm not a jersey guy. I no offense to people that wear jerseys. I just don't understand the idea of wearing another man's jersey to a game.
Can I tell a story about you? You've been giving me crap because I wear my Joe Burrow jersey every Sunday when I watch the Bengals, and yeah, I get.
I don't know if I give
you.
you.
You're a jersey guy, Reed. That's what you're. You're a jersey. I don't get it wearing another man's jersey. We have the prospect of meeting Joey Votto earlier this year for the Elder Moeller game down at Nippert Stadium, and this man wears a T-shirt that says, "If Joey Votto doesn't swing, it wasn't a strike," and he wears that to meet Joey Votto, and he's giving me crap for wearing a Joe Burrow jersey.
That's two completely different things, in my opinion, but that's here nor there.
I'd say that's worse. But go on about Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers, what's his deal? Does anyone know his deal? Casey, that seems like a question.
This is his deal?
With the Packers. Like, is it 2 years?
So he just signed it in March. It's a 3-year, $150 million contract, $101 million guaranteed.
Do you think he gets to the end of that contract as a Green Bay Packer?
No.
If the Packers were smart, no. I mean, they could trade him right now, and I think they would get a pretty good deal out of it, honestly.
They can't trade him now, but yeah, in the offseason.
Yeah, you get my point. Like, in the offseason, I think that's a smart move for them. But, I mean, they're going to have to eat up some cap regardless. So he's either going to finish out his contract or they're going to trade him. Those are the only two options. They can't cut him.
I think he could retire too, quite frankly.
Is it the end of the rope for Aaron?
I think that one of two things are going to happen. He's either going to take a trade somewhere where he thinks that he can win it all, and or he will retire. It's the kind of guy that he seems to be. I've just watched him interviews. I've watched him over the course of time. I understand why people wouldn't like him. I understand why people think that he's caught up in himself. I personally feel like he's a very thoughtful, well thought out person that doesn't make comments, and he doesn't make comments just out of emotion. He more or less has a very, very deep undertone to what he's saying, and I get why people don't like him from the standpoint of the whole COVID, non-COVID, the immunization, whatever. Take that out of it. I just think that he's not the right guy for the situation the Packers are in because he demands too much, and I think it oftentimes right now he's got a little bit of blinders on of how well he's playing. I think that he demands excellence from his receivers, and he's not going to have the same chemistry with his receivers as he's had in the past. But he's also got to realize that he's not the same guy right now. And it might be just because of his thumb, to give him a little bit of an out. His thumb might be completely jacked up, and it could be the reason as to why he's not playing well. But I don't care as a fan. If you're not playing well, you're not playing well.
This is the first time I've heard about the thumb. What's going on with that?
4 weeks he's had this thumb issue. Every week they bring it up. He says it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, he's got it wrapped. And then there was a couple weeks ago he wasn't practicing. So the thumb's a thing. Like it's not like
it's
not that it's just one of those things where I think Aaron's been around this game long enough to know that he doesn't want to sit because he knows he knows the possibilities of what that could bring if he sits. And I'm not saying Jordan Love's the next big dude, right? Because I'm not saying I'm all in on him, but I am saying that there's a small chance that he does want to take 2 weeks off to get his thumb right, and Jordan Love starts playing well, and the Packers are like, yep, like this is it.
Who lasts longer, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers? Because Tom Brady could retire this year. I think it'd be a surprise if Aaron Rodgers.
That's a good pull. Can you put that in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat.
Who lasts long? Because here's why. The weird thing about it is I think they both could retire at the end of this year. They really could.
They both could.
But,
and I could both see them playing 3 more years.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? And I just had this thought thinking about Aaron Rodgers. You know, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are kind of the last pieces of that generation of quarterbacks, right? The Drew Brees, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
I know Aaron Rodgers came a little bit afterwards. What was going on in the NFL from 2009 to 2013 that there was no great generational quarterback that came out in that time? You know, for the longest time we had people like Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger. All these guys came in the league right about the same time. And there's no guys that came out right around the 2009 to 2012, 2013 era that are top talent guys. All of them are older or young.
That's why I don't know. I'm sure that if we had that answer, we'd be doing well in life. I think that there's a reason there's oasis in the desert too. You know, it's like sometimes there's this random thing that happens in the world, and in the NFL there was a really, really good crop of young talent. You could say the same in the NBA to a certain extent during certain eras. There was
2004 or 2003 draft that saw Melo, Wade, and LeBron James.
I know we're not big NBA guys, but that's kind of the same concept there. But yeah, I don't know. I would say Aaron Rodgers to me, I still like him a lot. I'm not giving up on him, but it just doesn't feel or look the same, and it hasn't. It has not, quite frankly, since week 1. And you're talking to a guy that's watched Packers games a long time. And there's been years in the past when he came out and said, relax, RELAX, everybody relax. I kind of was with him during that time because it was like, you know what, we're moving the ball down the field. There's just these weird things that are happening to us. Like we fumble a kickoff or we throw a pass and it gets tipped and it gets picked. That year, those things were happening. This year, it's like those are just bad throws. You can't even defend those throws, right? I mean, when you watch when Joe Burrow throws 3 interceptions to the Bears in 3 consecutive plays, you kind of leave that game thinking like, all right, whatever. Like that's so unrealistic of happening. That's not that's not really a problem, right? That's kind of how it felt in years past with the Packers and their offense. This year, it's like this offense just can't move the ball.
Yeah, and to also add to that point, he didn't say relax. He said, we will not be able to win games if we continue to play like this. So it's like he almost kind of knew.
Yeah, he felt different, right?
That he felt different about it. So it's kind of sad. I was really hoping the Pack was back, honestly.
Why?
I wanted Aaron Rodgers to kind of just sneak in there and just have one last kind of hoorah, because he's like, in my mind, out of that generation, he was the best thrower. To me.
I don't know if that's even arguable.
I don't think that's. So I wanted him to have one last. I don't want to see quarterbacks go down with a bad season. Like I don't want to see Tom Brady have a losing season or Aaron Rodgers have a losing season to end their career. And this is like one of those career moments where you're like, come on, gosh dang it, like he's gonna come out with a bad taste in your mouth.
Right.
Kind of how I feel about Peyton Manning. He left me with a bad taste in my mouth.
That's how they always that's how they usually go. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, threw for like 60 yards.
He threw for like 60 yards.
But he still won the Super Bowl. How does that leave a sour taste?
Your point stands. One thing I wanted to bring up, we were joking outside the office that I said, I'm not saying it was my idea, it was whatever, but did you guys bring up the Colts for Aaron Rodgers? I feel like that seems like the next probable step for both parties.
I wasn't sure on the cap space, but Aaron Rodgers is the most prototypical next Colts quarterback.
Who they had since Andrew Luck. It went Jacoby Brissett, then Phillip Rivers,
Phillip Rivers.
Carson Wentz.
Yep.
This year, Matt Ryan.
Right. Now just
Next
slide
year,
in
Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers, and then the year after that, Tom Brady, and that'll be that.
Colts.
Will be good.
And Jeff Saturday will be one of the best head coaches in the NFL.
Man,
Right.
You're gonna go down that.
Rip Twitter. Let's jump to it.
Oh yeah. So R.I.P. Twitter. I was busy last night doing random stuff around the house. It is super not stressful renovating a house. It's just not at all. I was up till 3 a.m. doing that. My brain's working at 10% capacity. But everyone is losing their minds on Twitter that it was going to end. And I saw that and literally just that, whatever, and just got off the app. Explain this to me like I'm 5. One, what the thought process is of why Twitter was just going to go away.
Well, we as humans don't have we don't have a track record of overreacting at all with social media. I mean, we've done a really good job of seeing an issue and taking it for its face value and then being rational about it. That said, last night, humans thought for whatever reason Twitter was going to go down, and I'll explain it to you like I'm 5.
Yeah, explain it. I'm 5 years old. Explain this.
Elon Musk came in and said it's his way or the highway. This is how we're going to work. You got a guy that's a billionaire sleeping in the offices right now trying to make all of these changes to Twitter that he wants. And he basically fired a boatload.
88% of the company is not there from when he
Correct.
took over.
But here's my main thing about this whole thing.
So that was the reason people thought it was going to.
Because a lot of
Because people weren't working on it.
Yeah.
Correct. They thought the code was going to crash and there was going to be no one there to fix it.
It was Y2K.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to say. But here's the thing that I have that I just don't understand. Blue, you can't even call them blue check marks anymore. I'm not sure what the right term would be to use, and I'm not trying to get too crazy on this show. But what's crazy to me is they think that this guy, okay, like him or not, this guy bought Twitter for $44 billion, has made electric vehicles when Fortune 500 companies that started vehicles can't figure it out. He sent human beings to space, and we think that he's not going to be able to figure out how to get a code base fixed? I mean, come on, man. Now, the other thing I'll say about this, the last thing I'll say, if you want some small laughs, and we can fast forward through this. That's literally the story, by the way.
Okay. I thought
there wasn't a whole lot to it.
I thought there was some more deliberate thing that
No, he fired 80% of the company.
Working at Twitter, and they couldn't figure it out. I don't know how to fix this plumbing problem.
He fired 80% of the company, and you got all these people that think they're very, 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 very valuable and important, and they came out on socials and said that there's no way they're going to be able to keep this up and blah, blah, blah. So you had a lot of people believing in that the whole thing was going to come crashing down. Turns out it's still running. And at the end of the day, what's funny to me with the whole situation is that there were human beings that thought that this guy was going to spend $44 billion on a product and in a month have it not be operable.
To be fair, he also wanted to get out of the deal. I think he started something and then was like, crap, I don't know if I want this anymore. Once he took a gander underneath the hood, but he formally put an offer in and they kind of forced his hand to buy it. So let's not push it in like he was openly handedly wanting Twitter after the original push to get it.
I got one last thing to say about it. You know what's going to be damning about this whole thing?
What?
What does it say about Twitter as a company? If 80% of their workforce left the building, and none of you, not a single soul, unless there was people saying something about it, in 2 weeks, no one would know the difference on Twitter.
I think you would, though. I really think you would. I have a very strong opinion on this because I live on this app, and I have literally lived my life on this app for the last 9 years. I spend 3 hours a day on this app, way too much time. A piece of me would die if Twitter went away, but what I have to constantly remind myself is that it is far and away the smallest social media app on the market, and we just live in this little ecosystem of sports media where it's vital to our job. I literally couldn't do my job without Twitter.
No.
If Twitter went away, my connection to people that follow what I do and my publishing my work and everything, it is
No, I'm not saying that it goes away. I'm saying, what does it say to the Twitter as a company when 80% leave and in 2 weeks it's the same exact thing it's always been?
But product-wise, it wouldn't shut down. It would never be updated, but it wouldn't shut down. But when the content moderation team and all these people that are essential in like looking at tweets that have been reported, like harassment, like all that, and all those people are gone because all those people are contractors. So, and all those people are gone too. Now it just becomes this, it's always been a cesspool, but now there's nobody to even remotely regulate the cesspool.
No,
and
I'm not.
Or are you just saying the base product?
You're missing the
saying,
point.
He's like,
you're missing the point.
80% of the company is gone, and you probably wouldn't have even known that.
What I'm saying is that what does it say about Twitter? They're in a real bad spot here. The old management.
Yeah.
Is if 80% of the company walks out the door, supposedly, that's very important.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks, they keep the same exact.
God bless you,
they keep the same exact quality on the app. The app doesn't change a bit.
Are you talking about? I really think it would. I think in a month you would.
I'm saying,
it.
what if it doesn't, Paul?
Oh, what if it doesn't? Then yeah,
that's my point.
Oh, what if?
They're at a real risk, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If this guy comes in and cuts 80% of the workforce and realizes they can do the same exact stuff with 80% of the people, let's be honest, Paul. If you think about it, with companies like ours, right? We only got 5 people in here. Multiply us by 500. How many people would be walking around here and you'd be like, well, yeah, stuff's still running the same.
Yeah, I'm.
That's my point.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and Twitter is already operating at a deficit too. I mean, the amount of debt that they're trying to operate out of, plus with advertising, because it runs like 85% on advertising. So now with advertisers being scared away to want to make deals with them, like it's in a bad place.
We'll see how it goes.
I don't know. We'll see.
So I have this is gonna be maybe a slow question here. Was there something genuinely wrong with the code? Is that why there was an issue? What?
That's what I was asking earlier, and we already processed this. We don't think so.
So why? So what's the issue then?
Culture.
Just the culture.
I think you have a guy. This is where it's like I don't really know if we need to go down this rabbit hole. You have a guy that, in my opinion, has built a lot of things. He works incredibly hard. The guy could go on an island and do nothing and be just fine forever. But he's not wired that way. He's wired to try to be very efficient, very effective, and become and make things that are incredible.
Yeah. So there's
when you wear an Elon Musk jersey.
When you mix that in with the idea of walking in, getting your cup of coffee, got your yoga studios.
There's no technical issues, though. Okay.
No, not yet. But when 80% of the company leaves, it begs the question: Can it still run?
Gotcha.
We'll see if that happens. The jury will be out.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on.
Let's move on. All right, so me and Trace were talking out there while off the bench was going on, discussing what we want to talk about, and you're just, IU comes to Xavier tonight, Indiana. Where are some college brands that are losing their muster, I guess?
Yeah.
Or have already lost it. Like IU is considered by some a blue blood college basketball program.
Right.
Because of, they've won 5 national championships. They used to be top dog. But obviously that's not been the case for a couple of decades now. What are some college brands that are slacking? Can we stop talking about them, I guess, is the reason.
Nebraska football is one.
The Cornhuskers.
Yeah. That seems to be big time number one for me.
Yeah, I mean, they won a couple national. Do you guys have any college brands that
Texas? I like that, Everett.
That are just, can we stop talking about them? He brought up Nebraska Cornhuskers. I feel like Nebraska Cornhuskers are gone. Done. They're not even, there's not even a reason to talk about them. They need a big year this year. They need a big year this year because they're on that precipice.
I mean,
sorry,
I was gonna say I'm ready to stop talking about Alabama football.
Well, that's not a brand that's done.
I know it's not done, but I'm ready for it. I'm hoping I'm ready. It's collapsing as we speak.
If you want to do the basketball blue blood thing, I don't think Indiana is. I think UCLA.
Yeah, good point.
UCLA has dropped off a lot. Mick Cronin's there, but the problem is the fan base and the attention in UCLA, right? I mean, it's just so tough to get that fan base that you had back with Wooden in the 70s and everything like that. It's just not there anymore. But if you look around we had this discussion the other day. Like, if this boils down to who are the blue bloods in college basketball, because, you can look at Nebraska and all those in college football. But in college basketball, you look at Villanova. Are they because they were right there, right? If Jay Wright had stayed another 5, 6, 7 years, maybe won one more national championship, a Final Four or two in there, you're probably talking about them as a blue blood. But are they more than their coach? Because that's always the discussion. When you're looking at a blue blood, Kentucky is a blue blood because it doesn't matter if it's Billy Gillispie or whoever it is. Tubby Smith. I was going to go with Tubby. Tubby Smith, Billy Gillispie, whoever it is. That program is always going to have the attention. It's always going to be a basketball school. Same with Duke. Same with North Carolina. Same with Michigan State.
Kansas.
Same with Kansas. But when you get to a team like Villanova, who has far and away been the best program of the last 10 years-ish, 2 national championships, are they more than their coach? And time will tell, because you'd like to think that Jay Wright built them into that. But Duke, you get John Shire in there, Duke would still go up and sell out in Wyoming if they went and played the Cowboys. It doesn't matter.
Do you think Michigan State is going to hold past Tom Izzo?
It depends on who they get, but I think what Tom Izzo has built is strong enough at Michigan State, the basketball brand there. I really do. In the Big Ten, I think that the resources they put into Michigan State basketball, I think that they will be there past Tom Izzo. Yeah.
Sir Boy's got some great ones. Georgetown.
Done.
They're done.
Done. UConn.
Big old done. UConn.
Syracuse.
UConn basketball.
Do I think of Syracuse higher than most people do? That's honestly a genuine.
Syracuse is done, and AJ brings up a question that we can get to in a little bit, but Villanova, far and away the best program in the past 10 years, very debatable. I don't know, man. They've been consistent. Very,
they just
very,
win.
very, very good.
Some of that
begs the question of the league they play in, and I'm not saying the league they play in is weak. Don't let me say that, but I am saying I don't know how top heavy that league is.
But I think every year the Big East has enough at the top, even rotating, that it's like the Big East is enough at the top every year. It might not be the same every year. Like Villanova is always at the top of the Big East every year. The number 2 is not always number 2, but the number 2 is always consistently strong enough to contend.
That's fair. It's like the Big Ten.
Look at Providence last year. You look at Creighton this year. You look, Xavier won the Big East in 2018. Villanova's only lost the Big East regular season title twice in the last 10 years since realignment. It was Providence and Providence and Xavier, sorry. But two national titles in the last 6. Kansas is right there, but Kansas has that national title from last year. I just think when you look at the Final Fours, when you look at the national championships, consistently winning and winning in big games when it matters. Look at that run that Villanova had in 2018 to win the title. They won every game by like 25 points.
No, I'm not arguing about that. I think Villanova, you can make that case.
What about Miami, the Hurricanes?
I was gonna say I'm baffled as to why Miami is talked about so much. I know they were great in the late 80s.
How'd the Hurricanes?
Early 2000s, but I don't even understand why we still talk about them in football.
You know what's crazy? Here's what's wild. Maybe I'm like the old guy in the room now.
You're a little older.
Maybe I'm the old guy in the room right now because I feel like that's
they mean nothing.
Because this chat, I guarantee you, this chat will fill up with people saying, when Miami football almost seemed like a wagon that could not be stopped.
Yeah,
they had like the swagger, they had the dudes, they had the players, they had the coaches, they had the weather. They had everything that you would think that a kid would want to go there. And then all of a sudden, like, it just all fizzled away. And it felt like when I was growing up, Miami felt like it was one of those wagons that just wasn't going to stop. Genuinely, they were going to be good every single year because why wouldn't you want to go there if you're one of the best college football prospects?
I was going to say.
But now they can't get back, man.
Yeah. What about the whole
have
state?
A chance,
yeah, I was going to say the whole state.
Florida State, Florida, Miami.
I have a theory.
I'm not going to say Florida's bad.
I have a theory on this.
Okay.
I think that recruiting with the internet, okay, when the internet was invented, okay, and when I say invented, I don't mean like the 80s and stuff. I mean like back, 2000s when people started to use it and understand it. I think that the internet allowed more programs to be national recruiters than they were before the internet. So those Florida teams, for the longest time, had access to being able to go and recruit all of those kids in the South who, like it or not, usually were better athletically, more athletic, rich talent pools down there than there were in the Midwest. And you have small brand, like some brands like Ohio State and Notre Dame that could recruit nationally from time to time. Yeah. But for the most part, now I think with tape, with the ability to be able to get on an email, with being able to see kids and via Zoom or however phone call, calling people, which I know there was telephones back then, but it's easier to call people now than it was when you're going in telephone booths back in the day. I'm just saying it's easier to be a national recruiter today than it ever was before, and that's why kids from Florida are at Ohio State. Look how many kids are on roster for Ohio State this year than even Tressel's era. 15, 20 years ago. That's some homework that we could do one day. See how many kids are on Ohio State's roster from Florida today than there were back then, and I think that all the talent's starting to get pulled from Florida, and that's why they're not as good as they used to be.
Does that hurt? Not mid-major, but good programs that are, kind of in the middle. Like trying to think here.
What?
Like a South Carolina or something like that. Does that hurt them? Because these guys they might have been in the past just competing against Clemson and stuff like that. Now they're competing against the entire nation.
Yeah, maybe.
The right answer though is in the chat, college basketball wise.
Louisville.
I was saving them for the end.
Really?
Louisville.
You think they're out?
Louisville is in a. They might not win 5 games this year.
I know, but that's because of what's been hanging over their head.
I understand, but to hire a guy like Kenny Payne who had no head coaching experience and now to potentially be looking at his buyout. I was listening to the Skinny Pod yesterday with Rick Roaring and Richard Skinner. They made a couple of great points about Louisville. The buyout for Kenny Payne was $10 million, and it goes down by $2 million every year. So you're talking about if you have to fire him after this year, you're talking about an $8 million buyout. And you're talking about what? 3? Pitino, Mack, an interim, and Kenny Payne, then a new guy. You're talking about 5 different head coaches in the last 5 to 6 seasons at Louisville for a program that forever was one of the premier programs in all of college basketball. And that is a demanding fan base and one of the best college basketball conferences in the country. That's the right answer to this.
See, I don't think that they're dead, though. I know everyone in the chat's saying they're over.
But they're not what they were. They're not that blue blood because they were with Pitino.
Well, I think when we talk about the brands, just as like a general conversation, is like, do they still have relevance? Do big-time coaches are they still willing to go there? Like, I don't think that's the case at Nebraska anymore, right? Like, or some others. And I mean, this is a fun topic. There's not really a right or wrong answer. But my point to the whole thing is that I do still think that Louisville will get themselves in a position when the whole buyout thing figures itself out. They might have to suffer for a few more years, but they still can get a top-level coach. And in college basketball, like it or not, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Xavier kind of proved that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you would think that Xavier had the run that they had long enough to where you could almost plop anybody in there and they were going to have success just because it's been built into there, and that got proven that's not always the case. Same could be said without it in Arizona. Arizona was great under Lute Olson, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they hit straight into the ground, and then Sean Miller goes out there, and next thing you know, scandals or not, I don't care, they're good again. Sometimes it's just you got to have the right coach. Coaches in college, it's not a secret. This isn't a secret. But is that not literally the only thing that matters?
What?
Coaches. Like, if you get the head coach that you want, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
LSU will end up being proof to that, maybe. Ohio State's definitely been proof of that. Urban Meyer left Florida, came to Ohio State, like it or not, not trying to kill Tressel. They are a completely different program. I used to be an Ohio State hater through and through. But when Urban got there, I'll admit, they were a different type of brand. They weren't the same old Ohio State they used to be.
Right.
Urban Meyer changed the culture at Ohio State. And as much as, like I said, I don't love the guy because he was at Florida and he stole all my hearts when I was a Georgia fan when I was a kid, but you can't sit here and act like maybe if that program didn't get the right head coach, they're, boom, right back. And Louisville basketball has to be one of those brands.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. We could have been sitting here and talking about Michigan. Luckily, Michigan won last year against Ohio State. What about the teams that are like coming back, or that
Michigan's definitely one of those.
One of those that are like on the upswing. That
Big
we think,
time.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like they were going to be the next Nebraska for a short minute. It
Yeah, I was
felt
worried
that
about
way.
Spot.
Because I mean, if
Harbaugh has been a good hire, regardless of what people say. That team's constantly in the top 10. They're constantly competing. You're always talking about them. Harbaugh's been a great hire.
Harbaugh was a great hire, but he was very close to being
Gone.
gone because
Right.
he wasn't winning there. And it's like, if this guy can't win there, which a guy that's won everywhere he's gone, if he can't win there, then Michigan might be dead. But they had one good year and got
I looked up Harbaugh's coaching career recently. Before Michigan, he had never stayed at anywhere longer than 4 years. He was at San Diego State for 4 years, Stanford for 4 years. He's in for the 49ers for exactly 4 years, and then he's been at Michigan for 8 now. Just kind of
I don't think we're breaking any news by saying the head coach is literally the end-all, be-all, but I've come to that conclusion. It's literally that. I think if you took Kirby Smart and you took him in, and Kirby Smart went to South Carolina, I honestly think South Carolina would be playing for national championships in 5 years.
All right, Paul.
Yep.
Tonight. Hoosiers, Muskies. I have a buddy coming in from northern Indiana, diehard Hoosier fan. I've never been to Dana Gardens. We're going to go down there and get a pint before the game. Is that the place to go before the game?
Before the game, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get their wings, right?
I'll be there after.
You'll be
Yep.
there. Well, I know you.
I'll be there
You're
after.
a party animal.
I'll be there after.
You go there
You can get after it.
all the time.
Who are you
gotta get
rooting
their
for
wings.
tonight?
Oh, the Muskies.
Oh, the Muskies. I didn't know because last year you were wearing candy striped pants going to Indiana
I
games.
appreciate. So my buddy who's coming to this game tonight,
making sure.
Out of everyone I know, his fandom for the Indiana Hoosiers is the biggest out of any fandom I know. And there's certain people that their fandom is either infectious or divisive. You know, there's a lot of Ohio State fans you get around and be like, God, I want Ohio State to lose so badly. This guy's Indiana fandom is absolutely infectious. And it's hard not to root for them when they're not playing the Muskies. I'm a Muskie fan first, but Indiana, I would say, is my 2 in college basketball. It's gonna be tough. I put some coin on the Muskies. We're betting straight up, me versus him. We're not putting it in the sports book. No juice.
Okay.
No juice. I mean, it's a big bet for me. It's $100. $100 bet on the Muskies.
Dang.
Getting 3.5 points. Can your arm get up as the in-game host? Can you get up to the second deck where we're going to be sitting?
I don't know where your tickets are.
206.
Yeah, I've gotten it up there. Oh, you know who you're sitting by?
Who?
I didn't know they were in 206.
Travis Steele.
Oh, that was low. The Chesler.
Chesler?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can't. I'm going to rip Chesler a new one.
He's there. I think he's in
Fate's
206.
all
Yeah, I can get you one up there. Can't get the T-shirts up there, man.
Too heavy.
Yeah, and just not aerodynamic.
We got to get that arm loose for the CABL next year.
I know.
Got to build some arm strength.
Age-eligible pitching next year.
Muskie, is there anything else to say about this game?
No,
I mean, if you want to hear anything about this game, I'm going to give Paul a plug because I listen to this every morning, and obviously part of our brand, part of our network, blah 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 blah. Am I biased? Possibly, but
you don't need to make his head bigger than it already is.
Paul does an unbelievable job on his Rebound Rundown podcast. Every single morning, it's there, it's ready to go, and if you just want a little bit of insight, quick little interview. It's right there for you every morning, isn't it, Paul?
It was good.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Dropping the kids off at school.
Yeah, Jeff Rabjohns was on this morning who runs Peegs. Peegs is the biggest fan forum. You know what? I'm not a chocolate guy. You can have it.
They're vanilla.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured it was chocolate. But, yeah, Rabjohns was great. Talking about the
I like how you're handing out snacks and you still have like 2 topics to go, but that's a typical Reed Mouse move.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
Bengals Steelers. Do we need to beat this dead horse or not? I know there's a lot of Bengals fans in the chat.
Well,
how worried are we? You guys are all Bengals fans and I'm not. Do you know what the beautiful thing about being about being a bad football team? I'm just now finding this out in the NFL.
What?
Been a Packers fan for a while, so it's always been, let's win the Super Bowl.
Well, at least you, yeah.
This is the first year. This is the first year I'm out, baby. I'm a free bird.
You get to watch one less game now.
I get to watch Red Zone all season long. There's no pressure. I got no pressure this Sunday. How worried are we in here, boys, about the Steelers?
Well,
how worried are we, chat?
Like I said before in Tom's show, if Zach calls a good game plan, we'll be just fine. But I have very little faith that he will. That's the issue. I think we got the talent to beat them. I think we run the ball and we're balanced, we're good. But if not, it's
You're all out on Zach Taylor, aren't you?
I really am. I don't care that he took us to the Super Bowl. I really don't.
Whoa!
I really don't. Because I wouldn't even consider him the reason why we went. It was the other guy, our defensive coordinator.
Kevin Huber?
Oh, no. No, it was our defensive coordinator. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but the dude is a real coach. He should have had a head coaching job last year.
King Lou?
Yes, Lou Anarumo. He should have had a head coaching job last year. The dude's been fantastic. But, man, I have little to no faith in Zach Taylor, man.
I am worried about this office because let me tell you something. If the Steelers somehow beat the Bengals twice, I'm going to be like Elon Musk walking in here and trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're not going to have anybody to help work Chatterbox anymore. It's going to be a bunch of sad puppies around here.
Listen, 2 things about this game. I have talked myself into fully that it's going to be a rout. I have been at...
No, don't do it.
I have been on the receiving end.
I'm so superstitious. Don't do it.
I've been on the receiving end. We all have of the Steelers just pounding us in for years. And for some reason, I've got this heightened sense of that the Bengals are just going to go to Pittsburgh and take care of business. They're going to cover. I mean, I was looking into the spreads at, I think, 4 right now. I was looking into an alternate spread of like 9.5. I was like, look if I can bet on that. I just think that the Bengals are going to do it. And I'm completely unshielding my heart in this game. But I just think we are so much better than them, talent-wise. Obviously, they have a better coach. I don't know how he sees the field with his stupid-ass sunglasses on the entire time. Freaking aviators on a freaking football field. Are you kidding? Terrible. But I think that we're going to go in there with a good game plan. I think we're going to run the ball well. I think we're going to pass the ball even better. And I think we're going to do it.
I mean, I sure hope you're right, man. Because I agree with all your points, but Zach Taylor is the main factor in this whole equation. He is the guy that says, all right, we're going to run this play, and he'll run right up the middle on a stacked box with 10 guys in the box, and we got a receiver that's wide open with no corner covering him. He will do that.
Talk to me, Casey.
So that's my I'm just nervous, man. I'm nervous through the rest of the season.
So I got to tell the chat this about
28 is 28 and sunny, Sharon.
So I got to tell the chat about this. By the way, how are those zebra cakes? They good?
I got to see if I can eat them. Hold on.
They're okay.
Yeah, I'd say they're slightly above a fudge round.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's what I was going to tell
Me
the
and
chat.
Casey we're on the Save Wayne link when it comes to these snack reviews.
So
It's a negative.
on Monday. Oh, it's a no?
It's a no.
May contain nuts?
May contain.
May contain.
The ultimate killer.
Ah, tough. Sorry about it. But
Gonna be real tough when the wheel spins no lunch. That's all right. That won't happen.
my wife texted me. Text our family group chat, her family side of it, and said, hey, just so as a reminder, we're doing family pictures this Sunday at 3:45.
No.
The Bengals play at 4:25. We're going out to some tree farm out in Lebanon at 3:45 to take pictures. We do this every year. We have so many family pictures. Why are we doing this? I text her. I said, honey, I started off with honey. Nice, sweet. I said, has this been a plan for a long time? Said, oh, we're taking pictures for my mom's birthday. I said, hey, the Bengals play at 4. She said, can you stop being so effing rude? And I immediately pussed out. And I just didn't admit it. So I will be in Lebanon just putting on my best smile as Joe Burrow is tearing it up. So even if the Bengals lose, I won't have eyes on it, at least for the first half.
Imagine how much more mad you would be if they played at 1. And the pictures were at 3:45 right before the end of the game.
Yeah, because you'd be driving there, and then, at least now you just have no clue what's going on. At least now you're totally in the
What
dark.
I need to do,
You at least catch half the game.
I need to convince the family that the best spot to take family photos is at the Avenue on Pleasant Avenue here in Hamilton, Ohio. It's got all the scenes. It's got a dirty pool table, smoke filling the air. It will make for just some excellent ambient lighting. Get some wings in it, a turkey club. That's the best spot to take pictures of the entire town. That's what I got to convince the Gordons of doing.
That or Gina's, right?
Do you know where you're going?
We're going to some tree farm out in Lebanon.
Whoa.
So I'll be in the. I probably won't even have freaking service.
No service.
Oh God, no. Why would I need service? Bengals aren't playing. It is. So I love her family, but they're not sports people. They're not into sports.
That's
so
tough.
every once in a while, just these crazy plans come up on a Sunday when the Bengals are playing. It's like, listen,
What's wild?
I've got 17 days a year where I need to be in front of a TV. 17 days a year. Can we please just schedule things around that? God, I don't have a college fandom.
That's what I was getting at. It's very tough to explain to people that have not been in sports and or around sports their whole life why something is so important. It's just you can't even eloquently state it to someone. It's like, I know that it just seems like it's just a game to you, but this isn't just a game. I spend 8 hours a week listening to podcasts about this said thing. And this isn't like,
This isn't about some goddamn game. This is about our lives. Don't you get it? Don't you get it? God darn it. God.
If you haven't seen that clip, you better go
Augie
find
Greedo.
out. Augie Greedo. But what's funny about it, the worst thing, and again, my wife's gotten significantly better about this.
Rizzo will not make the picks.
But one thing that my wife used to always say to me that's just tough, because there's a small argument to be had there, you can just record it. I can't just record it. That means I got to stay off Twitter. I got to tell all of my group chats that I'm watching the game on DVR.
They don't care.
That is impossible. They don't care. So basically, if I'm going to record something, in the back of my mind, I don't know if you guys have ever done this. Chat might know this if they've done it before. But in the back of your mind, you're literally the whole time watching the recorded game. You're just like, I just need to fast forward to the end. Like, I can't possibly sit here and sweat through this whole thing when I could just get on my phone and know the outcome.
Yeah, I cannot watch a recorded game. Can't. I've never done. I won't even try to do it. That seems barbaric.
You should ask whenever you guys meet Alex again how nervous I was on the plane. This is a plane ride to freaking Disney. How nervous I was just sitting there wondering if the Bengals just got blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs or if we managed to come back.
You didn't watch that game?
I was
the
on a
AFC
plane.
Championship or the regular season?
The regular season. Which was our game to get into the playoffs. So pretty much the same sort of level of like intensity as
Can
a
I tell you
fan.
something that I did last year that was the worst? It's similar to what this guy's going to go through. In fact, this is worse.
Is this when you went out east?
Yeah, let me tell this. Let me tell this story. I love my in-laws. And I love my wife. But the most frustrated I've been, I ripped my favorite shirt in half to put it. I Hulk Hogan'd it.
Man,
True story.
I ripped a.
I went to Hocking Hills last year. This was scheduled in advance. And it just so happened to be the weekend that the Packers, who I thought were going to go to the Super Bowl, okay? I thought the Packers were going to go to the Super Bowl. This was Aaron Rodgers' final run, because if you don't remember last year, Aaron Rodgers, right? They were spatting a little bit. So I thought this was it. I am watching the Packers game on a television that's 24 inches big, standard definition in the middle of Hocking Hills, and it would. When I say standard definition, folks, have you ever watched television on standard definition lately? It's gotten worse. They used to be better. Before HD television was a thing, I swear that the picture for standard definition was better than it is, or what I experienced last year in Hocking Hills. I had to watch Aaron Rodgers drive right down the field on the first possession, score a touchdown. I'm like, oh, thank God. If nothing else, I can watch the Packers lose at my own home in HD and at least feel somewhat good about it. 7-0 Packers score. I had to watch that miserable-ass performance on a 24-inch television, and I had to be quiet the whole time because it was a night game, if you don't remember, and all the kids were sleeping, and everybody was in bed. I had to take my frustrations out on my shirt that I love so much that I ripped right down the middle because I couldn't just scream at the top of my lungs when that ball got blocked in the end zone. Worst day of not my life, but close. Top 10 day of my life.
I did something very similar to an Andy Dalton jersey one day. I was so pissed off, just ripped it right in half. Have you ever tried to rip a jersey in half?
You gotta be strong.
Can't be easy.
It's not easy. I probably had a good 5 attempts on that thing. I was like,
what are Sharon Peters and Caitlin Marsh talking about? They're talking about JCPenney sales. I will close the show.
No doubt. You know what? I have an elite level brain. Not to be too braggadocious, I know who Caitlin Marsh and Sharon Peters are. I think you do too if you put 2 and 2 together. It's knowing that we know. Everyone in the chat knows. Everyone in the chat knows who Caitlin Marsh and Sharon Peters are. Just give it a little bit of thought.
All I know is, and I'll close on this as we wind up the show. We got to put the wheel of lunch but so this week I've got the pictures. 2 weeks from this Sunday, the Bengals play the Chiefs, and my loving sister, I love dearly. I'm her man of honor, whatever you want to call it. She's getting married that day when the Chiefs play the Bengals, and when
at
she
the same
told,
time,
oh yeah. I told her when she told me, hey, this is the wedding date we picked out. I looked right at the Bengals schedule, and I said, all right, make sure to take plenty of pictures at the wedding. I won't be there. I got to watch the Bengals play. But let's do Wheel of Lunch.
What do we got for name? Or what do we got for?
I'm gonna throw something out there.
Let's ask Caitlin where we should go eat.
Caitlin and Sharon. All right. I'm gonna throw something out there. It's gonna be our last because I think Paul goes to Oregon.
Yep. Oregon
Next week.
Oregon Trail.
You'll be here Monday, right?
I will be here Monday, and I will still have the podcast uploaded, and I'll still be doing the rebound rundown.
Okay. Well,
I just won't be on the show.
Maybe I'm gonna throw something that's only open on Fridays for lunch. It's a nice place. It's a good place. Billy Yanks.
Have never been there. I'm rooting for Billy Yanks. What is the closest Olive Garden? Penn Station needs to be on there.
I could smack Olive Garden right now.
Why would we go to Olive Garden when we got Gina's?
Yeah, I'd rather just go to Gina's. Honestly.
Okay,
yeah. Put Penn Station on there just from the sheer fact that they are.
No.
They're going to be on there, and if they happen, we'll do the old drive-through trick for Paul.
All right.
Okay. Are we putting Gina's on there then?
Yes.
And that's good. No lunch.
I need those vibes. I
can't do birds again. Boom shakalaka. Although one thing that was
failed
to say in Boom shakalaka was that not only did you see us there, but you took care of our bill, and we greatly appreciate that.
Yes.
That was very nice of you.
Yes, very awesome.
That was amazing. Thanks, Boom. All right, we got the wheel ready?
Yes, we got it. We got 4 choices, guys.
All right. 4?
We got 4.
Whoa. What's the closest Olive Garden? I'm being dead serious.
That's Gina's, right?
No, I feel like Olive Garden needs to be its own thing.
No. Put Olive Garden on there.
Paul's with me.
Please.
He wants to lower the chances.
Yes.
For
yes. I need one more chance not to jinx myself here.
Olive Garden.
There's one in Fairfield.
I think the closest one may be Colerain Avenue. Colerain Avenue is definitely the closest.
It's a ways. It's a hike if we end up at Olive Garden. I'll be honest.
We're definitely going to do – I don't know. Obviously sponsorships are coming in and out, and I don't know exactly how we manage this. But I would like the group chat, all of our loyal group chat folks, if we can figure out a way to go and just enjoy some bets, like some group bets. We need to come up with some group bets and go and knock out like a day 2 or day 1 of March Madness at a bar somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that'd be fun.
Betting kiosk?
All right.
You guys can bet at the kiosk if you'd like.
Sir boy, I'm allergic to peanuts. That's why I can't go to Penn Station.
Yeah, that's
tough. I bring down the whole mood. All right, go ahead.
All right. Here we go.
My God, please. No.
Well.
Oh, disaster.
I didn't want Olive Garden. Olive Garden's terrible.
I didn't really want Olive Garden
I'm so
either.
happy Olive Garden's a no. I think I'm happy with anywhere else other than no lunch.
I mean, 50% of what's left is no lunch to me.
Okay, good.
Paul, don't have a negative attitude about it.
It's true.
We got a 66. We everyone but Paul is winning here.
Oh, no.
No.
Keep moving. Keep moving.
We got a good
one up there.
We got two good ones up there.
Oh, I can't have Penn Station.
Well, regardless.
Well, you guys can go. I'll go to Taco Bell.
So this is the one.
No, hold on. Time out. I'm being dead serious. Is it automatically?
I've never seen it not end
How about
up on-
this? I'm going to put in a couple of Billy Yanks.
Put in a Penn Station and a Billy Yanks. We'll have 2 of each.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And it's whatever it lands on. So we found out that the wheel.
No, you got to, and then flip them.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So we found out that the wheel lands on whatever it doesn't start on.
We have some Olive Garden haters. I don't really hate Olive Garden, if we're being honest.
I've been to Olive Garden like twice in my life.
Not a fan of Olive Garden. I don't want to.
Salad?
Oh, the salad and the breadsticks. All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
I mean,
What it lands on?
What it lands on.
What it lands on. What it lands on. It's going to land on Billy Yanks. That's big time.
That's big time, boys.
All right, Billy Yanks.
That's big. That's
Never
huge.
been.
I've been excited to have Billy Yanks. So
Are we sure it's open?
It's open on Fridays.
at this
For
time,
lunch. For lunch.
I'm excited. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen the, I'm going to give Penn Station a shout out. Penn Station's helping us produce this documentary, and I haven't seen really anything. We've all been in the dark on this thing. Cedric from I Said Media has been pretty much producing the whole entire thing. Put a lot of money into it, and Penn Station supported it, and they dropped he dropped the trailer today. He dropped the trailer today on our Twitter, and it looks great.
yeah,
Like,
it really does.
Honestly, like I'm not even gonna take a whole lot of credit for it, but
It's great.
yeah, it looks.
Yeah.
I would almost argue. Just saying, this might be too high a praise, but I'd argue that if you said it was gonna be on Netflix, it wouldn't.
December 9th at the Cobb Theater, right?
It looks like a Netflix type of production.
I was really impressed with it, and I didn't see it until the start of Tom's show when I ran it the first time. I was like, wow, we
Stepping up.
stepping up in the world.
time.
Chatterbox Sports, we're big time, baby.
All right. See you guys. We're going to go get some Billy Yanks. We'll be back on Monday. I believe someone was asking about scheduling next week. I think we're going to have shows up and through Wednesday. I don't know 100% on that, but we're definitely going to have shows
figure it
Monday,
out.
Tuesday. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know. Thanks. See you guys.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.